Hello, cats and kittens. Odewa Jose, Yoroshiku. We're back in the Crisis Corner to continue the Star Wars Skywalker Saga post-mortem. Right now, we are on the prequels. We finished up, you can see in the playlist, we already did the original trilogy. Now we're on to the prequel trilogy, which, we're about to get into. And basically, we're going to work this the same way we did with the original trilogy. We're looking at characters, plot, execution, overall grade. Now, so we're going to start with the Phantom Menace. The overall concept of the prequels is, this whole thing is supposed to be the Skywalker family saga. And I remember hearing Lucas say that the basic story is the fall and redemption of Anakin Skywalker by means of his son. So we got to find out how he fell. Start with Phantom Menace. I will say that the concept holds up here. Characters that are introduced. So we're basically starting with a whole new set of characters. We got Anakin, we got Qui-Gon. I guess you'd say Obi-Wan is the mainstay. Then we get into people like, what you call them?
Padme.
Say again?
Padme.
Jar Jar Binks. The situation with...
Wait, Jar Jar.
Yeah, I mean, the little bodyguard fella, he don't really factor in. He was in the mix. The council, the Jedi Council, although you could say Yoda is a holdover because we saw him in the original trilogy. So we get to see the Jedi Council. Palpatine's a holdover. We get to run into his apprentice. What's it, Darth Maul. And I can't think of anybody else of major consequence. Basically, those are the new characters that we're introduced to. But here's where I start getting a little baffled. Dealing with the plot. And I'm nitpicking, I understand, but it's got to be this way. So from what I understand from the opening call thing, there's the Trade Federation, okay, that is taxing the trade routes or overtaxing the trade routes. And that's the backbone of this disagreement, right? And so this planet, Naboo, right, is being singled out for whatever. Do they not have the resources to live without trading with somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Because if you use this on a terrestrial type plane, if you say in United States or whatever country needs to trade with another country for goods, I get you. Okay, because if it might be that we don't have milk and the other guys got milk, but we got gold, and they say we give you your gold, we give you the milk for our gold. All right, problem solved. On this whole planet, are they going to starve if they don't trade with somebody else for something? Because at some point she said that her people are starving and suffering. What don't they have that they need, that they can't do without, that they need this trade federation? It's a little thing, but it's kind of irritating me a little bit.
Well, I always felt like he oversimplifies just how this society works. I think it's supposed to be so that you can kind of hop in there and just ride this wave, because essentially all trading parties within the Republic somehow or another formed a coalition, and they make up the Trade Federation. So this is everybody that does trade. Somehow or another, they are aligned with this Trade Federation. I also found it, because my question becomes, was Naboo a part of the Republic in its entirety? Like as soon as they decided this is a planet and we have people on it.
Yeah.
Were they put there by the Republic? Are these people indigenous to Naboo? Because quite frankly, what were they doing for food before?
Exactly.
What were they doing prior to? Do they not grow crops on Naboo? I mean, I don't know that I've seen them, but I don't know. So essentially, he's made it so that every society in because I don't know what they offer. I don't know what Naboo trades. I don't know anything. But nobody's self-sufficient. Everybody's dependent entirely on the Republic for survival. And then on top of that, you get into a situation in which there are aspects of the Republic that the Republic themselves doesn't control. So the Trade Federation is a federation of traders. They are not, apparently they're not subject to Republic rule. So the Republic doesn't determine how we trade within our Republic. It's just one of the most interesting things. I mean, it's very simplified.
And the Trade Federation has a standing army. Why?
Common sense, I think. I mean,
what do they need an army for?
Trade,
I
man.
mean, they were described as a battle-tested or battle-hardened army, which to me is just those droids, right?
Yeah, they got them droids, man.
The Roger, those guys.
Well, I'm assuming that people come for trade. So you have smugglers. You have. I mean, he makes known organizations within the Star Wars canon. So the Hutts are. They take people's stuff. They're gangsters. They take people's stuff and they sell it. So at some point or another, it makes sense to me that there's an arm of the Trade Federation that says, if you come for us, we're gonna whip your ass. So I feel like that's.
So they have an army to protect the trade routes.
I mean, we'll say army because I've seen the droids in action.
Yeah, that's another problem also.
Yeah.
All right, let me just ask you, where are you at with the plot?
I'm going to. Oh, sorry.
I ain't got the idea. So where are you at with the overall plot? Or do you understand the plot?
Me?
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, what the
because it was tricky. It was tricky. He was trying to catch it.
I'm struggling with details, but that just might be me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just
How do you not struggle with details? Because as writers ourselves, we aren't allowed to just throw ideas out and just let them like evaporate or become vapor in the air, and it's just like, oh, this is what this is supposed to, and that's what Lucas does. So remember at the beginning when the scroll comes up, it says that the ring of the barrier that they put around Naboo is part of their agreement when they're in negotiations or whatnot.
Okay.
So the Republic knows. I mean, the Senate knows about this. The Republic knows about this because obviously they sent the Jedi, the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan there to do trade agreement negotiations.
Right.
I don't know why they sent Jedi to do trade negotiations, considering that they're not keepers of the peace, and I would assume, I mean, they're ambassadors, kind of, sort of, but they're just ambassadors for the Republic, which obviously makes them biased.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's entertaining how it was put together, because once you go through 1, 2, and 3, and you realize it was all just created, the whole thing was created. So it kind of gets into the minutia of like ridiculousness. I mean, because Palpatine like orchestrated everything.
Yeah. I didn't know that Naboo had enough clout where.
Well, they didn't because they got ignored.
Yeah, they were like a small little.
And their queen had to come to, essentially their NATO, their queen had to come. The queen of the planet had to come and plead her case directly because the senator or ambassador that she sent wasn't able to get it across. Mind you, the Trade Federation themselves had representation.
Right. And they're the ones that put up and they said that their blockade was legal.
But that's what I mean. It says at the beginning, like, it's legal, but it's hurting them. And I'm just like, why are they picking on Naboo?
Yeah.
And if they're picking on Naboo, why isn't anybody else coming there and saying, like, I'm with you, Jose. Does Naboo not trade anything else that, like, to anybody else?
Well, I don't know how that ring around the planet is legal. That loses me. But then you like you said, Alan, it's all of this is a work. So essentially, you get the fact that the senator from Naboo is Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not arguing very well because it's a work. So I mean, in that way, like I feel like plot wise, it's a straight line. I mean, concept. I'm going to disagree with Lucas in so much that I don't know that it's necessarily it's meant to be a spectacle. So it's an effects, extravaganza.
Okay,
That's essentially that's essentially what I got the impression he was going for. It's a prequel, yes, and it may include the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker. So yes, conceptually, I believe yes, he did that. The plot, like you said, it's just, I mean, it's a straight line. It's just he went behind and he said, okay, this is what I did in the original trilogy. I'm just gonna draw a straight line through these movies. These are the things I need to happen, so they line up. And then it just it's just a straight line. It's really and I know in our last discussion we were talking about how you could see a definitive age up when you watch A New Hope and then you watch Empire Strikes Back. And then you see this kind of the evolution and this de-aging, so that you can watch Return of the Jedi. It's the same daggone age group because it's really a straight line. It's very simplistic how he goes about things, and you just sit there and you're like, this don't make no sense. It's just crazy to me.
No, that's interesting because I mean I actually tried to go back and get I ain't gonna say get some deeper meaning out of what he was trying to do in terms of the plot and the specifics of the politics. Because I talked to you, Alan, about the politics of what they was doing, and I thought that maybe if I went back and tried to, weed through it and see what was going on, but then I started looking at the politics. I said, "Oh, it didn't make no sense." Not a whole lot of sense, maybe.
Our side of the Force clouded your judgment, Jose.
I guess. I mean, the politics to me were just. I shouldn't have paid attention to it in the first place.
They were childish.
Yeah, I mean, because some of this is kind of shaky to me. All right,
he makes to force his plot through. He forces people to make uncharacteristic decisions throughout the entire series.
So you're getting right there.
He makes it work because he's like, no, you're going to do this. But he doesn't act like that. No, he does.
He does today.
The first thing they got me is they said they put up a blockade so that they couldn't trade. But when they showed shots of the planet, it looked pretty good. I mean, it was luscious green trees and it seemed like there were animals everywhere.
It looked like it could sustain life.
That's what I'm saying.
Those animals were hardy animals. They
were. If you carved them up, you could be eaten for a good while.
You could eat animals. Yeah.
Architecture looked strong. Didn't look like it was having problems. It wasn't burned out or whatever. The Gungans, you got two sets of people. You got the surface dwellers and the Gungans. The Gungans
got tons of fish.
They had transport vehicles to loan out so that they could get back to the surface. It was doing all right.
Dude, remember the Gungans, there was no negotiating deal between the Gungans and the Nabooians.
No.
That's true.
There was nothing there. So that means the Gungans were not affected whatsoever.
No.
And
because they were still self-sustaining.
Exactly. They were self-sustaining. They didn't care about the Fate Trade Federation ring around the planet. They gave nothing. It's just,
and then the Trade Federation is going to take over a planet, capture the queen, and make her sign some kind of document.
Right.
Is that what Trade Federations do? And if they do that, what is going to come of that? Because when everybody catches wind of this, they're going to be like, yo, what's going on?
That's what you thought. Because they have been going through that for months, if not years. Remember, even jumping ahead a little bit, between 1 and 2, that's like 10 years.
Yeah.
Nothing changed technically. You still had that weird thing going on with the Trade Federation.
Yeah. It kept going on.
They're still trying to kill the queen.
All right. Let's double back to the characters. What was your impressions of the characters themselves? You can start with whoever. Amidala, let's say.
She was okay. I mean, sometimes I liked her, sometimes I found her annoying. Like she was a bit preachy. She was okay.
That monotone was getting to me because I didn't know why she was using it.
Oh, the
Senator,
queen.
why have
That's
you done such and such? You know, hear that monotone going.
that's how
you know,
queens spoke. That's you see you've not been in the presence of royalty, so you don't know.
Okay.
You're ignorant.
Okay.
You
Well,
just don't get it.
it's funny because this prequel had fantastic actors. I mean, straight across the board, they were great. They were probably better actors in the prequels than it was in the original.
That's true.
And
All the help they can
they,
get.
with the exception of Palpatine and maybe, well, Palpatine for sure. The rest of them kind of came up a little flat. And I don't know if it was the green screen or what.
Ewan McGregor pops. So I'm gonna tell you that off the break. I know I'm getting ahead, but I'll tell you, this man, Ewan McGregor made Obi-Wan my favorite character in all of Star Wars. I'll tell you that off the break. So
Good. I seen him do better. I seen him do better.
he ain't getting no trophy.
No, I mean, because like I say, it's all green screen, and you can tell. Sometimes just looking at them, you can tell they're not looking at somebody. They're just acting to the air. You know what I mean? Which is because man went crazy with his effects. I mean, this was all about effects. This was making up for the first three. He was on his. He was with industrial lights and magic trying to create spectacle, and I think the actors kind of suffered for it a little bit.
This is really off subject. I'm just going to say, man, and I don't know if y'all seen Chicago.
Nah.
There's just a song in there called Razzle Dazzle. Just check it out, man. Essentially,
McGregor was in there too, right?
Huh?
McGregor was in there, right?
No, that was you talking about Moulin Rouge. That's Richard Gere.
Right.
Yeah. Just check it out, man. Razzle. That's what your man Lucas was going for. He's going to hit it with a little razzle dazzle. But I'm sorry, I just watched it, so it just.
Right.
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, characters I was single. Palpatine always I forget the dude's name, the actor.
Oh, Ian McDermott.
Ian McDermott. He crushes all the way through.
I agree with that. Ian McDermott. I like Ian McDermott, Ewan McGregor, and Frank Oz. The only actors that I find are exceptionally consistent in the prequel trilogy. I mean, you can't. I mean, what's his name? C-3PO. He do what C-3PO do, but it's not like he tearing up the scenery. It's just he just whatever. But those three actors, I think they hold their own. Everybody else, they just
I would go there.
They collected a paycheck.
I felt like Liam Neeson.
Oh, I mean,
he perfectly portrayed Qui-Gon.
Okay.
He actually perfectly portrayed a Jedi. Mm-hmm. I began going through these three prequels. I began to get a horrific feeling about what the Jedi were, what they stood for, and how they were portrayed. And I'm thoroughly convinced that Lucas is either a mad genius, and just by letting people go create canonical stories outside of the actual movies, or he just has no idea how to do characterization. It is. So Qui-Gon was actually one of the best written characters presented on screen throughout the entire saga, all 9 movies to me. And I say that because remember I told you, Jose, I think that if he were to be alive, if he would not have died at the end of the movie and he would have trained Anakin, things would have turned out completely different than what they were. So you need to put that kind of father figure there that had a better understanding and more comfortability with the Force. Because Obi-Wan wasn't ready. I mean, Obi-Wan was essentially a 16, 17-year-old single father now. That's what he was, trying to teach something that he didn't understand himself.
Well, I don't know if it was he didn't understand the Force. I mean, because we go into in the second one, he makes it clear he feels, at least Anakin, that Obi-Wan possesses the wisdom of Yoda, the power of Windu. But I agree with you. Indicate, quite frankly, I believe it was just the fact is Obi-Wan was still a kid, so it was for all intents and purposes. Your parents die. You're 18 and legal, so you get to raise up your brother. And that's essentially the impression that I got. So for all intents, I agree with Alan completely. Obi-Wan's nobody. He wasn't Anakin's father. He was just a big brother. And Big Brother is just, I mean, they're not fathers. I mean, it is what it is.
Which also caused me to question the Jedi, because they're making all of these decisions. Like, you just don't, if there's somebody more capable of of raising someone, you just don't leave them to that person just because that's the laziest, easiest approach for you to take. Like, you know, the stake of the prophecy, you know what I'm saying? Qui-Gon died and was going to defy the council to raise and train this kid in the ways of the Force, because he felt so adamantly that he was the prophecy physical. And your response, you know, they stood against him. They couldn't do anything about it. Your choice is to leave it to someone that's taking them on as an obligation. Because I will beg, even as a brother, Dave, even as a brother, you already have stronger connections. Obi-Wan looked at him as an obligation. This is me carrying someone's briefcase back. This was his last person. I'm carrying his briefcase across country to drop it off somewhere, and then you get a wacky planes, trains, and automobiles adventure. That's what that was. He had no attachment to that kid by the end of the movie. So to start, like, whatever happened in those 10 years, their relationship, well, for one, was wrong to me. So you don't have you have a mentor, you know, a master Padawan, kind of like only in name for real, because he was his brother.
Now you talking about with what you call
Obi-Wan and Anakin.
I'm talking about now.
No, skipping from
No, you saw later on as the series goes on.
Of episode 1 was non-existent.
Right.
Because remember, he already, from the beginning of Qui-Gon meeting him, remember what he said? He was like, "Why do I feel like we've picked up another lower life form or something?"
Yeah.
Dude, he has more midichlorians than you do, if that means anything.
We're gonna get back to that. Yeah.
You see, so first off, that was out of character for me for a Jedi, because I don't know what's so high and holy except you just being a jerk.
I think his exact words were pathetic life form. Yeah.
Pathetic, yeah.
Or something. I was like, that's
pretty harsh. Yeah.
At least I knew.
I think he was trying to be glib. I mean, to be fair, I think that was just a comment where, you know, I mean, and not to say whatever. The man had a bum life. It is what it is. It was a bum.
Yeah. I mean, actually, that brings up one thing. The one character that we didn't get to, which is kind of telling, I guess. Little man play Anakin. Where you at with him?
In terms of what?
I think he tried his best. I think he. I mean, a little kid, whatever his name was, I forget.
It was Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd, okay. I think he did okay.
I think it's a reason why Jake Lloyd isn't an actor today. I think it's, you know, I'll be honest with you. I'm seeing kid actors, and I'm seeing
Ron Howard, all right? He ain't Ron Howard. Right?
Look, man, I can rattle off a list of child actors that I think were phenomenal. Yeah, I'm trying to tell you, Jake Lloyd ain't one of them. So I don't know what Lucas said was like, you know, dang, that's the one right there. I just nah.
Yeah, Lucas might have just eyeballed him and said in his head he looked like Anakin, and just grabbed him. He might have been, you know, sitting in the front yard and he just passed by and said, "Get that kid right there." You know? I mean, look, I'm not knocking him. He did what he, you know, he did.
He read the script well.
Yes. I don't have a Mom's. I guess Mom did okay, but I didn't feel too invested in her. That might have been on purpose. Because she wasn't the focus of the story.
It's weird because we know, having watched, and I know we're not doing Attack of the Clones yet, but we know, having watched the story, she's integral to this man's transition.
Oh, yes, she is.
So it's weird that she's not necessarily a focus, but
they had their scenes, like when he left.
I guess
he was going off to be that was. It wasn't the most heartwarming thing ever, but it was.
It didn't bring a tear to an eye.
Okay.
That man, he wasn't a master at wordplay. He was a master at facial presentation. Like his facial expressions, exactly that. Hey, remember when he gave that exact same squint, stare, snarl, whatever to the council?
Right. Yeah. Squinted real hard with my man.
You can just hear it, like, who the hell are you talking to?
I sense much fear in you.
Yeah, I'm in a room full of rich douchebags, apparently.
Yeah. my man Mace Windu said he wasn't gonna be trained. He kind of like looked at him kind of hard, you know.
Oh, yo, Mace. Now you talking about
Foreshadowing,
people?
you know.
You talking about people
Yeah.
hating Anakin?
Yeah.
You talking about Mace hated that dude? Yo, that
Yeah.
joke was real.
All things. All times.
And now, and I hate to be all over the place on this, but going back to the characters,
You have to be. You just following suit.
yeah, whatever. So I mean, another issue that kind of pulled me out of it a little bit was his characterizations of different races for some reason.
But they like the Gundam.
I mean, look, the Gungans, the Trade Federation dudes, my man that Anakin worked for, what's that guy's name?
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, clearly he was supposed to be Arab of some sort. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Arab,
Middle Eastern or something.
Old timey blacks on the plantation, Gungans.
The Gungan, I mean, that stuff was because I hadn't seen Phantom Menace in maybe at least a couple of years, and I went back and looked at it. It was just like blaring. You know what I mean?
Shook you to your soul.
Hey, I mean, the first thing that hits you,
yeah, just go back and
Trade Federation dudes, that fake Japanese joint or whatever they was trying to do.
Even with the slur. Ooh.
That was rough, man. It was, I don't know. It was kind of bad.
They had it was they sounded Japanese.
Yeah.
Slight Japanese accents, and they were completely surrounded by robotics.
Yeah.
The stereotype he could come up with, or that was attached to a particular race, was there. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, he was just throwing stereotypes all over the place, man. I was like, I mean, I noticed it at the time, but I've been removed from it for a while. But when you see it again, it's like it takes you out of it, you know. Yeah. Anyway, so
When the characters that bother me.
Huh.
So I was always under the impression that Anakin created C-3PO.
Mm-hmm.
He did build him, but I thought that he was unique within the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he's not. So is this like a build a kit kind of thing or something? Because they made it seem like that he went out of his way to like make this helper droid. But then at the beginning of Phantom Menace, there's a C-3PO serving them in the room. Remember when they got to the Trade Federation?
Right. Yeah.
I saw that and I said, what? It destroyed the movie from almost cut it off right then and there.
I guess he just built his version of a human cyborg relation droid.
A protocol droid.
Yeah, protocol droid. Yeah.
I knew they were protocol droids. I didn't know that was the standard protocol droid. And so you kind of just like go out and get like your own beer mix kit or something.
Well, I mean, the idea is that he was doing. It's supposed to be. It was a gift for his mama. I mean, essentially, he was creating a protocol droid to make his mama's life easier. I mean, it's just a kid who. It's just he built a computer.
Yeah,
For all intents and purposes, he didn't create computers, but he built a machine. He took some junk and made a machine. So that's what C-3PO was. Just some trash he found in the yard, and he came back and said, "Mama, here you go."
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of.
He was like, "Yo, I can't watch this."
It downplays the. It just downplays it.
Before we get into any kind of grading, looking at the execution, for me, I think the pacing was a little fluffed.
Oh, the pacing was horrible.
Because, I mean, if you just go through it from the opening bit where they go to the negotiation and it falls apart, that's fine. They get in you get to see a little action scene there where they fight the droids and so forth and escape down to the planet. I think the bit with the Gungans was necessary because you wanted to have the Gungans, I guess that little life lessons of the surface dwellers and the Gungans getting along. So you got to introduce the Gungans, I guess. But some of that seemed, their trip to the planet core, man, you could have knocked some of that off and killed cut some fat off of that. The whole side quest, I guess it was more or less an escape to Tatooine. I guess it was necessary. I guess the speeder race thingy was, I mean, you could put that in there for your little Ben-Hur moment. Yeah, all right.
I mean, it's
But
not
it just seemed like
necessary.
there was fat in there somewhere.
It's not necessary.
As soon as they hit Tatooine, there was a lull until the speeder race. But I guess that was necessary because he had to set up Anakin, mom, slave situation and stuff like that. But it just seemed like there was a lull in there until you got to the speeder race, which means they at least finished the side quest and they could get back to what they were supposed to be doing. So, I mean, did you feel that?
Yes. It's. I'll say definitively, it's the worst paced Star Wars movie in existence.
Okay.
It's it's the worst pace. It drags more than any of the other movies. It's by far the worst paced film.
Okay. Now,
And A New Hope wasn't paced well, so I'm just gonna tell you off the break, it was horrible.
but it was new, so you didn't.
Well, both you guys are right, and it's interesting with the choices that they made in certain situations because I feel it even like I understand why the Gungans are there.
Yeah.
I'm of the feeling that they weren't needed to propel the story. Like every scene wasted on them. You could have actually explained Naboo, and we could have seen some of those people struggling with the effects of the Trade Federation. Which we didn't. So we just saw the palace, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
You didn't have to waste any time on the Gungans just because you wanted to bring, Jar Jar Binks in, which was what that was for.
Right.
You wanted to introduce a new character, Jar Jar Binks.
And look, you can see Jar Jar Binks coming from Return of the Jedi, because he was started doing his little product placement with the Ewoks. And try to get his money in there. It's all of it was just a little product.
Wait a minute.
He was trying to get a new toy. You know what I'm saying?
You think Jar Jar Binks was a money grab?
I think
you thought he was sitting there when he
grab. He thought it was going to be a money grab.
This is going to fly off the shelves.
In his world, that was going to be the perfect toy.
Yeah.
They probably talked to him. He's a Jar Jar Binks. The man thought it was genius.
Misa gonna get paid. Oh,
no. Them down in the other prequels.
That's because the
educated.
It was outrage. People were like, "Oh my goodness!"
I didn't even understand what he was saying half of the time.
Oh, I hated Jar. The first time I saw that movie, I absolutely.
He took you out of the movie.
Aborted. Yeah, because
really
because like you said, you can't understand, and you don't get subtitles in the theater.
No.
So I can't even kind of figure out what Misa gonna do. I hated it. I honestly hated it. Oh my god.
That was for the kids.
Yeah, but kids ain't the only ones watching the movie, and they can't understand Jar Jar either.
And that aspect, and also the aspect of the incompetent drone army, which has always been something of a drawback for Star Wars to me, because if you're in a war, to me, it's not effective unless you feel like there's a danger element. And honestly, if you're not talking about the destroyer drones, they were never in any danger. Those things were just useless. They were. I mean, not only could you defeat them easily, when they force pushed them back up against the wall, they just went out. And that was it. They were done. They never got back up. So I'm like, these guys don't pose a threat to anybody. You know what I mean? Their lives were never in danger. Plus, when you get the element of this ridiculous, another issue that I have is, which is now a trope, I guess.
You put a limit on your issues, Jose.
I know, man. You had 10 issues, so it's our turn. Let me get into the issue.
I'm not going to say this trope began with Star Wars, but the whole trope of the multi-layered space battle at the end, three-pronged battle, one on the ground, one in the air. You got Obi-Wan and what you call him, Qui-Gon facing off against Maul, which is the main draw, and two undercards.
That's the best thing about this this movie.
I'd at least cut one of those undercards. I don't need to see Anakin going up there and destroying another Death Star, which is basically what he did. That was basically the first Death Star. And the whole thing of Padme and them capturing the Viceroy of Gunnery or whatever his name is, that didn't matter to me either. I just wanted to see Obi-Wan and them fight Maul. That was it. The rest of that was just superfluous. It was pointless, you know, and it dragged things out. I mean, a nice, real good kung fu fight between them three would have done it for me. That'd have been the end of it.
I don't think you understand, Jose. How are we going to know that Anakin's going to be a successful Jedi
If he doesn't save the day
and blow something up? I mean, I know he just did it for like 40 minutes in the beginning of the movie with the pod race, but that was a pod race. You know
that was a shine for me.
That's a battle setting.
Yeah.
You know, like
I think he got lucky though. He didn't even use the Force.
you think he wasn't using the Force. He was always using the Force.
When Luke took his shot at the Death Star, that was perfect.
At the Force, technically.
He's the Force's son.
Yeah, okay, fine. So anyway, that kind of blew me too. And the last thing that I get with on this is metachlorians. No, we can talk about medical. that was another calculated risk. Just like Jar Jar Binks, where he thought he was going to make all that money, he wanted to put some kind of I guess power scaling instrument into there.
You tried to explain too much.
Yeah, I think so too. That was a mistake.
He didn't have an understanding of what was going on either.
Yeah,
because I'm, midichlorians. I feel like you're doing your best to demystify something that's just mystical in nature.
Yeah.
At this point in time, the less is more. We don't need to know exactly how where eggs come from to know we getting an omelet. Just go ahead and mix that thing up, put it in that skillet, and let's go. I don't even understand. I gotta watch the eggs be birthed. Nah, dog, I'm good. Nah,
okay.
I ain't like it.
Metachlorians, I think, was a calculated mistake. But if he followed through on it, but it only purpose it serves to me is a power scale. Dude is this high, that's this kind of got Dragon Ball with it.
Yeah, but where did that play? I mean, not to move forward, but where did that play itself out at?
It didn't.
His midichlorian count is higher than everyone else's. What did he do that was different than anyone else?
Or greater, because at this point we've never seen Anakin realized.
No.
So ultimately, we all we know at this point in time is he's just failed potential, and somehow or another, everybody in the galaxy is afraid of him. The dude's a loser, and so everybody's frightened. I just, I got you.
Okay. All right. So what's your grade? Your grade on Phantom Menace?
Who want to start?
Alan, we go ahead.
I will give it a B, because even though a B, even though it's pretty bad, I will give him chops for being ambitious in his own way. I mean, he went outside of his talent pool too much and didn't kind of figure that all the way. But to me, it was more enjoyable than only than The Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
So he opened up a lot of doors. You could see it was going to continue.
You said it's more enjoyable than The Empire Strikes Back?
Only, not enjoyable. I mean, Empire Strikes Back is the one that's more enjoyable. The only one that's
okay. I got you. Okay, I'm with you.
Than one, but four and six.
Okay, I'm with you.
So a B for effort. You know what I mean? I can see he wanted to do something. It just never really got there, but I can appreciate it. Let's see how we build up on the next two.
Dave?
I gave this a D. I'm going to be honest and tell you that off the break, I find this to be the weakest of the prequel trilogy. I know that we discussed this before. I find it to be superfluous in its entirety. Like, in all honesty, I think the prequel should have started with episode 2. And I feel like there was some. Like, I don't understand why we have to see 10-year-old Anakin in any way, shape, or form. It's just a mistake. The movie drags, and I think it drags down the whole story of what's going on with Anakin. And I don't think that he was because of this movie, I don't think that he was able to effectively do Anakin's heel turn as well as it should have gotten. So I honestly feel like he made a mistake because he wrote himself into a corner because he wasted this film. So this was a waste in its entirety. And I don't, it only got a D from me, if I'm going to be honest, because I thoroughly enjoy the Qui-Gon, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan fight. I enjoy it a lot. So like I don't want to say I watched the movie, but I watched that scene and then I'm good. So like it's not enjoyable to me in any way, shape, or form. I feel like him killing Darth Maul was a mistake. It's just mistakes all around. It's just a whole bunch of just him dropping whatever. A D.
Okay, I'm between the two of y'all. I'm at C plus, because I'm feeling Alan in that he tried to do something that was either, I don't know if I want to say it's beyond him, or he tried a little too hard to put over to give some kind of context to the whole.
He tried to put meat on the bones, but it was
yeah. He tried to get this thing context politically and all of that stuff, but that didn't work. Then
it's just a whole bunch of gristle.
yeah. But I give him props for maybe the visuals don't stand up great, but the spectacle was decent, but the lows got to me. And again, I agree that they shouldn't have killed Maul, but that was a choice. And
he know what he's doing.
As much as I like the Maul Obi-Wan Qui-Gon fight, it was a little ridiculous in the sense that, you know, the force fields that came out and separated them for no reason whatsoever.
That was for tension, Jose. That was for tension.
It's convenient, man. I'm trying to.
I'd rather he just knocked the man out. I'd rather he just knocked him out somewhere and then he caught up just when my man got ran through.
Okay.
Now, talk about the Darth Maul Obi-Wan Qui-Gon fight. I'm a little disgusted that Qui-Gon didn't have a better showing.
Yeah, I would have liked him to.
They made it like they did the force fields to separate them because apparently he couldn't do it on his own.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. And it bothered me from the first moment that they fought, where that man was damn near out of breath like he ran a 5K. And I was like, come on, man. Like, hold up. Like, ain't nobody using no force or nothing yet. Like, this is just...
And I hate to go back to power scaling. Where does that really put Obi-Wan in relation to Qui-Gon at that time? Was he actually better than him and just didn't get a ranking?
What do you mean in terms of?
Because I mean, he beat. Well, the foreshadowing of the high ground thing.
Well, I'm about to tell you the high ground right because I was going to bring that up. The high ground didn't mean nothing.
But I'll tell you this. Obi-Wan didn't get run through when they were fighting. He may have got pushed back and was stuck down that hole, but he didn't get stabbed.
Well, what I understand, because I think I agree with Alan in that the Force is more than just swinging a sword. That's number one. So it seems to me at that time, Obi-Wan, yes, was better than Qui-Gon at swinging that sword, but there are other aspects of the Force that I would be shocked to hear that Obi-Wan was on Qui-Gon's level at that point in time in his career. I honestly feel like I don't understand. Like I will get into it when we talk about the Yoda Tyrannus fight and whatever. I honestly feel like people should be flexing with the Force a little bit more than they do leaning on those swords. So it's really problematic for me because I don't understand how I agree with Robert. I don't understand how Qui-Gon is so out of shape. You know what I'm saying? He felt like it was me in that joint. Like, oh Lord, hold on a second, and I just didn't understand.
Check this out.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but think about it. Who have they fought? They hadn't been a Sith fight. They hadn't had a fight with a Sith in 1,000 years.
No, but you know, see, my problem is he does stuff. So in the sequel, so in Attack of the Clones, there's a conversation that essentially Jedi at least spar. Their job, they like I don't say they're ambassadors, but they're also like the Republic's marshal service.
They're fighting.
So they're peacekeepers. I mean, you got to stay in shape. It's a blow to me.
And then think about this. So Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan couldn't take an apprentice, right? That no one had ever heard of. He got some fancy kicks or whatever. But then you have Anakin and Obi-Wan, that also can't take Dooku.
Well, I don't. Well,
Dooku was
Dooku.
supposed to be
I know
kind of.
Dooku was better. Dooku was way better. Dooku was Qui-Gon's master.
Yeah.
Just saying. From when he did it, when they fought in there, that seems synonymous with to me. And then because he ran through them, and then well, whatever. I don't know what the difference was because once again I didn't see any jump in power between episode 2 and 3 with Anakin. Mm-hmm. He didn't do anything special when he beat him. He just had a fancy move with it. Click. So.
Oh yeah, I'm with you because you know when you get into all this stuff, because then it's gonna bring into Mustafar and his duel with Obi-Wan. But Obi-Wan couldn't go toe to toe with. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff in there that you're.
Some of that you got
because Obi-Wan himself made it apparent and was like, what they say, you're in a few years or something like you'll be better than Master Yoda. And he was like, I thought I already was.
Yeah, only in your mind.
That was in the second movie.
He would say that though. Like Obi-Wan himself admitted that he wasn't like a master swordsman or anything like that. So
see, but then you got to go into fighting styles and stuff like that. And
well, I'm with you, but still, and I understand that certain people are harder matchups for other people. I get you. It's just some of it like. I agree. I like the spectacle of the fight. I'll say that. Yeah. But when you start to look at it and you start to say, well, how is this happening? I agree with Alan in so much that Qui-Gon, it doesn't make any sense. Because Qui-Gon, in my mind, should have been a monster. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he wasn't is problematic. Because he should have been way powerful than Maul. It's just, it is what it is. It's just, it is. I mean,
it should have been how Anakin took Dooku in Episode 3. That's how Maul should have taken Qui-Gon. He would have got distracted or something. Obi-Wan would have messed up. And
that would have been great. That actually would have been great had it been a joint. Whereas he got run through because he was saving Obi-Wan. Like that would have been. I'd have been like, okay.
And he could have did something super creative with the Force. Like maybe maybe throw your lightsaber like a frisbee, like how they do in everything else except for the movies. He would have caught. You see what I'm saying? Like I despise the movies because. There's no
despise. Wow.
There's no creativity. like when you look at the Force and whatnot, the way that they use it is extremely boring. The one thing that does happen when you become a Jedi Master is that you become really boring. You can't do nothing else. You can't use the Force for anything. You know what I'm saying?
But then you gotta be consistent with what you use the Force for with. Which is we're gonna really get into that in the sequels because the Force just turns into some kind of godlike power that's ridiculous, but if they're consistent with what you can do with the Force, I'm cool.
Well, someone asked me this. So those, what were they? The destroyers?
Yeah.
Shields?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't get through the shield. I don't know what the shield is made of. You can't get through it. Does that mean you can't lift them and just throw them somewhere? Like with the Force? Like I'm not understanding like what this is. Like you can't just get them out the way?
I don't know. Apparently not. So the fact that they ran from them at every turn, I guess that means that they can't do nothing with their shields.
What they mentioned is it's a stalemate. So I think it's the idea that they are putting down suppressing fire.
Mm-hmm. Just redirecting your.
So you're too busy blocking their laser beams that you don't have the wherewithal to lift them up. Now I don't know why one of you can't block the laser beams and the other one gets in there and tosses them. But I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they did like Naruto and had three-man squads.
And then it'll be more effective.
Yeah, it'll be something different because the way it was going wasn't working.
All right, now last thing I'm gonna get on with this is in terms of consistency with the Force. We got these cats using hyperspeed.
Yeah.
Once.
And it's never used again.
Once.
It really could have came in handy. I mean, when they took off from them destroyers, they were clearly moving at enhanced speed.
Yeah.
They flew. And they never used that again. In the series, I don't think. They did like leaps.
Yeah.
Which is fine, But if you think about it, when they were captive, we're going to get to that. I'm gonna leave that for a minute. So our scales, our grades are D, C plus, and B.
D.
A solid B or B minus? Just a solid. Okay.
I'm trying to bring my score down.
No.
Okay.
I'm just clarifying. I'm just clarifying.
Solid B for F.
Apologies.
Let's move on to Attack of the Clones, which is new characters introduced is pretty much just
Tyrannus. You get the Caminos. You get Jango Fett.
General Grievous.
Grievous. No, you don't get Grievous in this one. You get in the third one.
Oh, I hear that. Yeah, you're right.
What are those insect people? Those are the I can't think of the name of the insect people, but yeah,
right.
Sand people.
Yeah.
They were there for a second in the first one.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Those were the Raiders. They were shooting at them while they were doing the pod
I
race.
thought those were the same people. No?
Were they Tusken Raiders or something?
I thought they're the same people, I think. So you're right in the first movie.
Fair enough.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, now there's no real new characters I have to deal with. The main deal that I have, issue I have with this, the Anakin Padme relationship, that execution was pretty bad.
It was pedophilic, dude.
Huh?
It was pedophilic.
I mean, you saw some of that at the end of the first one.
No, because Padme, let's make sure we're clear. Padme is 14 in the first one.
Yeah, she's a 14.
And how old is Anakin?
She's 14, Anakin's 10. So let's make sure we're clear.
He was a little younger than that to me.
I thought she was like 20 and he was 10.
No, she's 14. Because she's not, so the queens on Naboo are children. She's not the youngest queen, but she was 14. So she's 24 in the second one. And I'm gonna say this because I think for me the worst thing about Attack of the Clones is George Lucas's writing. So I'm gonna tell you off the break. So my problem with this movie is just everything feels clunky. So I mean, I'm gonna tell you, in that first one, your man had eyes on Padme as soon as he saw her. I mean, the first thing he said to her, like, I don't necessarily have a problem with this romance in so much the way his execution is just, it's atrocious. See, the first thing he says to her, "Are you an angel?"
You're an angel.
You know, essentially that boy, I mean, he was smitten with this girl as soon as he set eyes on her, and that's just real. Are you an angel? So I'm gonna tell you, I ain't got no problem with him because he was trying to, as soon as he's seen her, like, I've been dreaming about this forever. So he's been like 10 years. He's been like fawning over this chick, and he's. I'm gonna make a move. I'm just gonna push up on her and see what happens. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think the dialogue is really clunky. I think it's horrible.
It's very bad.
It's really cheesy.
No, I mean, because they had to get together, so I didn't have a problem with that. You know, I mean, he did come off kind of pervy though. I mean, he was on her like a fiend, you know what I mean? And Obi-Wan didn't say nothing. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
That's the problem I got. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah, man. He should have spied that out.
All of that.
Huh?
Jedi Council ignored all of that. Obi-Wan ignored it.
All of that. I mean, you don't know that one of your people, I mean, you can sense everything else, but you can't sense my man fiending on some chick.
Sense, yo, the dude sees it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, well, I'm gonna tell you off the break. A part of this is like, I like, you know, essentially, like I think to Alan's point, it comes into it's a big brother trying to be a father, because this is not a situation in which there's a problem with the lessons that Anakin's learning in terms of the Force. You know, you can do the Force push, whatever. It's who he is as a person. The fact is, if you're gonna be in this order, you can't move up on women. We have conversations where you say, yo, I had a dream last night about homegirl. I wonder if she's been thinking about me this whole, you know, he has
attachment issues.
You know, he's feeling the hell out of Padme. He wants that girl. You know it. And the first thing you do is you let the council send him on some solo mission. Nah, dog, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. So I don't know.
They can frolic in the frolic. In the fresh cut grass.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So my main problem with their relationship is basically the dialogue. I can live with everything else. I mean, a lot of that stuff is what it has to be. He's going to marry this girl or whatever. But the dialogue was just entirely very, very bad.
George Lucas dialogue or George Lucian dialogue.
Yeah. The pacing again was an issue, but not as bad, I think, as Attack of Clones of
the Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace. It wasn't as bad, but the character relationships. Well, all right, what do you think about the progression of Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship? How would you characterize that? Did it work for you?
Well, I already told you I didn't like it.
Well, I like it. I mean, I think I enjoyed it. I know Alan didn't. I like it. I liked Obi-Wan and Anakin. I like that. Essentially, like Alan points out, it's a older brother trying to come into the dad's role. He's doing the best he can, but he didn't have all the tools necessary. He didn't get to have his wild youth. It was just a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of things that he let slide. That I'm not under the impression that Qui-Gon would have let slide.
No.
So I don't feel.
Then that's the other thing too. When you talk about their relationship for those the last 10 years, at what point does the council itself play any kind of parental role? Like you yourselves have already established how dangerous you think the child could be because of he's too old, he already has attachments, yada yada yada, and then you put someone that's not a master that was ready because of necessity to take the trials, right? Like I'm not understanding how you're entrusting everything on someone that is not technically qualified to do it.
I mean, he's a knight, though, right?
He's a knight.
Yeah, he's a knight, but there are other complications to it. Like he's not ready for this Padawan.
I think that's the point.
And they ignored that. Like they ignored Anakin and just told him like he was just like a regular person. Like no, like even if he should have been under tighter scrutiny simply because he was what Qui-Gon said, the chosen one, or the child to bring about the prophecy or to fulfill the prophecy. That part was completely ignored.
So basically, it'd be like if they gave Naruto to Asuma instead of Kakashi, or maybe Guy instead of Kakashi.
No, I think it would be as if who was the newest Jonin?
Oh, it would have been Kurenai. So I think so I agree with Alan's. I mean, it's true. I think the idea is because in a lot of ways they felt like Obi-Wan had tremendous potential. I mean, it is what it is. Like at this point in time, Qui-Gon is saying, as a Force user, there's nothing else I could teach you. You are ready for the trials. Like you are ready to graduate into knighthood. And I think I agree with Alan's take in that, it's like saying, not to say just that he's the chosen one, because I don't know. I don't know if that's the end of, but the fact is this is a troubled kid. Like they knew so much that this was a trouble. He's a special case. Like it's too much fear in you. Like quite frankly, you are one step away from the dark side. So we're teaching you how to kill people. We're taking a loaded gun and we're gonna set this free on the world. At this point in time, I'm not sure why Yoda or Windu aren't this boy's master.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what's happening that you're saying that I'm not going to give. I agree. He should have been partnered with a more and to be fair to Obi-Wan, I feel like this is a tough case. Essentially, your first Padawan should have been somebody that I don't know. Like I just feel like they were setting them both up for failure. Yep. I agree with that.
I guess if you look at it that way, Windu uses the Force closer to the dark side than any of the other guys, so probably Windu should have been his master. But he ain't look like he was the type to get up and do no work. So
I mean, I don't know that. I mean, well, cause, like you say, because it's hard to gauge that kind of stuff based on just the movie as your only source of canon. But I'm under the impression that you get assignments, you get assignments. So it don't matter if you sitting on that council or not. You gotta go do some work. You gotta do some work. So if you gotta train somebody, you gotta train somebody. Partner him with one of the most. If they don't have Padawans, they're free. Have somebody teach him how to go about this thing. I don't know. That's a questionable decision, I think.
Well, I thought their relationship was pretty solid.
Yeah.
As it progressed. Yeah, going into Anakin and Padme, it was progressing the way that it should have, because you got to get them closer together. I guess the main problem I run into with them is Padme being a little bit too. I mean, when he tells you that he slaughtered all of them sand people, I can get you understanding, because I mean, basically, we're saying that the sand people tortured and raped his mother.
Yeah.
And he comes back and tells you that he killed all of them. You could probably say
the women and the children.
And
too.
then when he said all of them, you stop and you think. When he says not just the men, but the women and the children, you got to rat him out. Maybe not right there, because he might kill you at this point. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't have said nothing to him. I'd be like, "Oh, is that right?" Oh. You know what I'm saying? For fear for my life. Because this man is a mass murderer. So I'm going back to the council and tell him your man is off the leash.
I don't know, Jose, because think about it. Who better else? Who's she gonna feel more protected by? Who gonna touch her? He just slaughtered some people for his mother, and he been obsessing about her for 10 years. Ain't nobody coming her way.
Well, at this point though, when he says that though, they're not together, huh?
Right. But no, it was not a pride or anything like that. It wasn't from an evil place. It was like he was hurt.
No, I mean, I got you, but he still said I killed everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I feel like she's gonna go snitch. I don't know if I feel like that aligns with her character. But I'm gonna say, to me, she felt like she had a litany of reasons why they couldn't be together. Mm-hmm. There was a whole bunch of, you are younger than me. I thought this was supposed to be a brother-sister thing.
And she was resistant. She was resistant.
She was resistant, and then you're supposed to be a Jedi. You can't have no girl. It was a whole bunch of reasons, and I don't understand why murder didn't make the list.
I don't know.
I think it did. I think it made the list, and just
I'm gonna go over that.
It wasn't.
I can't.
She thought maybe she
I can't sit in a room with a mass murderer and not flinch.
I don't know. I just don't nothing get me hotter, Anakin, the genocidal rage. I don't know. Like, it's just.
Hey, look. Every time after he told me that he killed all of those people, every time he's move real quick, I'll be jumping back. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know what this man has a problem. He's got issues.
Yeah, he got some issues.
Yeah. But she let that slide. I think she's complicit to everything that happened after that.
Oh,
now who else is complicit? Master Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda.
Master Yoda said he feels his rage or his anguish, right? We already established that the Force can, relate feelings over a distance, because Obi-Wan felt the death of everybody in Alderaan from light years away or whatever. If it's a big enough incident, you can feel it from a distance.
Yoda's super Force sensitive too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it comes to the Palpatine or whatever. So he felt the death of he felt Anakin's rage, probably felt the death of the Sand People. And he ain't really helped the matter any. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody said anything to him. As far as I know, nobody called him to task. And I understand that we got thrust into this war, but I don't understand why he was not expelled from the order. Like, it's just insane to me that nobody said anything. There was no consequence to this.
Oh, they talked to him.
Oh, well, even when they did that, because I'm pretty sure that they did reports since they started to get more militarized or whatnot. Yeah. But remember, Obi-Wan was like, "Why is he there?" And then he reached the signal to reach. Because remember, he tried to send a signal to Naboo first, and he was like, Anakin's not there. So he retransmitted and found he was on his homeworld, Tatooine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was. So did Obi-Wan never ask him what happened there?
Yeah.
So no one knows what happened with his mom except for Padme.
As far as we
Yeah.
know, I
As far
mean,
as
it
we
could
know.
be because there's a 3-year gap, like you say, between the movies. So it's a 3-year gap between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So we don't know if anybody said anything to him, if there were consequences. As far as I can tell, there weren't any. Nobody's ever touched on what went down on Tatooine,
Nothing,
See,
the
but
massacre.
you don't.
no one cares about the Sand People.
No. Now, apparently, Obi-Wan didn't know because he didn't. I don't think he was sensitive enough to have felt that, which means Yoda didn't tell anybody. If he told anybody on the council, they didn't relate that to Obi-Wan, and they definitely didn't talk to Anakin. So they just left that out there. All right. So another issue that I had was that after he murdered all the Sand People, and they find out that they have to go and save Obi-Wan, he seemed to have gotten over his mom's death pretty good, because he like cracking jokes on him when they're on the way to go save
But that man grieved.
Obi-Wan.
How he grieved.
I mean, I guess he got it out of his system, once he got rid of the Sand People. I guess he was good, I don't know.
So you saying his characterization when he goes to save Obi-Wan is
it's a little slightly inconsistent. It's probably nitpicking, but with the fact, because we know the importance that he put on his mother, and he wasn't able to save her, which was his. It had to be a consuming thought for him, and to find out that she died the way that she died, I wouldn't see any levity in him to the end of this episode.
See, I think, and I don't want to, because that's a big problem for me with a lot of just movies in general. How people deal with loss, and then how they kind of bounce back, and how it's all funny games after that. That's a big problem for me. So and I don't want to say, in Lucas's defense, he's not the first one that I've seen do this, and he's not the only one that I've seen just kind of trample over death in a manner that seems unrealistic to me. So I mean, I don't want to hold this against him too much, but I agree with you. But I mean, it's to me, that's a Hollywood trope. I don't know that I ever feel like everybody gives their because grief is a real thing, and it's a powerful thing, and it's on people. I mean, I've seen people grieve for years. The loss of somebody, mothers especially, just people don't tend to bounce back, when their mama go, just not something that happens. And I don't know. But then you also want to say, do I want him to be depressed throughout the rest of the film? Is that going to, I don't know. Like, that's a tough one.
Okay.
I can, I'll say that, one, I think that he had, in a sick way, he had some closure. So maybe that was part of the cathartic process of him telling her that he killed everyone, including the kids and the women. And then, because there was a moment, remember, where, he kind of tried to off-put his duties as a Jedi, even as a quote-unquote brother, Padawan, and be like, well, they told me to stay, to protect you and to stay back. And it kind of seemed like that he was, at least for that moment, he was done with everything. So that seemed a little bit a part of the grief thing. However, also taking into consideration his personality, he's only attached himself to two people for the most part, his mom and Padme. And Padme, it seems to me, knew it and was like, I'm going, and you're here to protect me. So, and she left it at that, and then she left, and so he followed her lead. Remember, it wasn't his idea to go. So he cracked that little smile because he liked how she kind of led him. And I don't know if that was like on purpose from like Lucas to be like Padme reads him and knows what he needs at this moment. Because she knows he's obsessive. And she knows that he's going to, pretty much, she's already kind of professed his love for her and everything. So I don't know if that's too clever writing that I'll give him credit for. That's how I'm going to read into it.
Okay.
That bit was a problem for me. I'm not even gonna fake it. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you on the break, because essentially, for us as people looking at it, we can say for Obi-Wan, it's him being the big brother, assuming that dad role. For Anakin, he says straight up, Obi-Wan is essentially the closest thing I got to a daddy. It's just, it is what it is. This dude raised me.
Right.
At this point in time, he lost his mother. Like, part of that was hard for me to just be like, okay, because this is the one time he's gonna listen to the council. This dude, it is Jedi law that says you can't move in, you can't push up on the chick. You've given up attachment. You know, we are Catholic priests. We abstain. So he's pushing it on this girl. The law of the Jedi don't mean anything to him. It don't mean anything. They say you can't go save your daddy, and you just watched your mama die. Nah, I'm calling bull on that one. Like, it never made sense to me. It never made sense to me. He
should have been all in on going to get.
As soon as, like, because I'm gonna disagree with one point, Alan, in that it's 3 people, as far as I can tell, that mean something to him.
Yes.
It's his mama, it's Padme, and it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I'm trying to tell you, as soon as they said that man about to die, that ship should have been in the air. We going our way. And I ain't like it.
But he also has a deep-seated dislike of Obi-Wan too, that had already started to show itself in that movie.
I mean,
he does love him the same. He does love him, but I don't think it's to the same extent with that he does with Padme. So even with the other thing, it's kind of like a usurp his position kind of thing.
Well, it's one of those situations where I think it's like a parent to a child. So at some point or another, you feel like you're grown. So it's like he was going through his rebellious teenage phase. Essentially, Obi-Wan is the parental figure. He's laying down the law. I don't need that. I'm grown. I know what I'm doing. I know how I'm living. I don't know if I felt like it was a deep-seated, you know, there's a resentment there. I don't know if it's hate or antipathy or nothing. It's just, you know, this dude holding me back. And that's what I feel like. But quite frankly, at the end of the day, that's my daddy, and I got to save this dude. You know, these people, I can't trust them. I'm going to go do it myself. I ain't buy it. I hated it. I'm sorry.
How many times do you think, because I never got the impression that the council gave him orders that he didn't follow, but he had the reputation of being rebellious and doing things off the cuff. So how do you think that like played itself out, honestly? Like, do you think that they gave him the directive not to go, and then they weren't surprised when he was there, when they showed up?
Well, I'm under the impression that just based on, because like you say, because it's a snapshot that you really get to see. Mm-hmm. But he takes these assignments and he interprets them his way. So you get that impression in the beginning of the movie when he goes about how he goes about trying to save Padme or how we should defend it. It's implied, Master, we should do such and such and such and such. Well, they didn't tell us to do this, so we got to do it the way they told. I don't think so. So I'm under the impression he does things kind of his way. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he blatantly just disregards, you know, the rules and so forth, but it seems like he'll bend the hell out of them. I got that impression. So I think Lucas did a decent job in showing that bit of his character. I'll give him that.
Well, let me ask this. It's kind of breaking in, but how do you think Hayden Christensen did performance-wise?
I think that's complicated in so much that, you know, as you watch it again. So on my first viewing, especially in Attack of the Clones, I felt like Hayden Christensen was stiff. Yeah. So I don't know that he essentially emoted the way in Attack of the Clones that I feel like he needed to. Okay. I'm going to go as far as to say I would have gone with a different actor, but he was okay. You know, he hit what you needed him to hit. He wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination, and he wasn't horrible. He's not Jake Lloyd, but he's not, you know. But he's no De Niro either. So I don't, you know.
All right, Alan.
It's weird because I agree with you. There was a lot of dialogue that seemed to not really hit. Mm-hmm. I think that all the actors were kind of put in situations that they would have preferred not to be put in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you want to, if you kind of just, which I'm trying to force myself to look at it this way to give more reference toward the production staff total. His awkwardness could attribute to the fact that, they're Jedi. He's being raised one way as a monk. Like, you're supposed to lose all your attachments and whatnot. The only friend that he really has in the world is Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's who you go on all your missions with. That's who you eat with. That's who I don't know if they live together, but whatever the case is, you can't, he's not, I wouldn't say he was friends or close with anyone on the council aside from Palpatine. He didn't feel any real kinship toward anyone. So I don't even think that his mind knew that, this is what the Jedi are telling me, this is what I'm supposed to do. And as you said, Dave, this is how I'm implying, this is how I interpret them. And this is how I'm going to imply it, because I've grown up these past 10 years being told that I am the chosen one that's supposed to fulfill some kind of prophecy. So I'm expected to be better than Yoda. And then the two things that hold him, that bring back his, his past life, or the true him, his mom and Padme. I mean, honestly, I don't even, it seemed apt to me that he didn't know how to actually express himself without being weird to her, because it just seems like they don't really have any interactions outside of whatever's best for the Force and the Jedi themselves. But then again, it could have just been stiff acting. You never know. And thank you, Lucas, for confusing everything. I can't even tell who's a bad actor now.
I seen him in the next thing I saw him in was Jumpers.
Decent.
The performances Jumpers was better.
Way
did a better job acting. So I'm gonna think.
There's also a rumor, essentially, and I don't know. They say that as a director, so directors are typically more involved in the acting process. They'll tell you, "Hey, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that," because they essentially cut these movies together. The rumor is George Lucas was very hands off in terms of telling his actors what he wants from them. So you got Bama's guessing for the most part how they're supposed to whatever. So a lot of the problem. So what they tell you essentially, or what I've heard a lot, is the people you get the best performances from are the actors who don't need directors. So cats who can just say, "Hey, I'm going to whatever," and it's not the same. So it could be you get from Hayden Christensen what George Lucas wanted him to give you. So it very well he could be very capable. I honestly believe some of his stuff in Revenge of the Sith was far better than what he did in Attack of the Clones.
Right. Because I think he was hamstrung probably by the script, and like you say, the director didn't get as much out of him as he could. So I didn't have a
if Anakin would have been. If Anakin would have been a CGI boy, he would have been, like 2/3 of his time trying to figure out personalities to all the CGI robots and extracurricular animals and whatever.
Yeah, man.
So,
and look, some of that CGI wasn't that good. No. I mean, I expected better out of it.
Well, it was the advent of the time, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was amazing for 2002. Like, I think he was doing some stuff, and I would say like a lot of the stuff that we see right now would be because he pushed the whole game, as far as I could tell, forward a great deal.
The main thing that people learn, at least the main thing that I think that a lot of directors have learned, are to do a nice blend of real stages. And CG, because he went like 90-10 CG to like real actors, real set locations. Like I'm not even sure if any of the set locations were real.
Probably not.
I don't think a lot of them. Most of it was.
And I think that's why a lot of it looks a lot better now. Not because the technology itself has gotten better, but there's a better blend.
Yeah.
Of it. So thank you, Lucas, for that. At least.
All right.
So future directors what not to do.
All right, so in terms of the plot, I still don't get the politics, and I don't really care to get into that no more.
The only thing that mattered in this one was that they gave emergency powers for some odd reason to Chancellor Palpatine.
Yeah, I mean, I see what he was getting at, the whole Trump Lamone.
I don't know who the Trade Federation's fighting. I don't know who they're at war with.
Yeah, and there were a couple of more guilds introduced, wasn't it? That weird fella that talked in like beeps and
Yeah.
yeah. Was it another guild? And what was the mechanics guild or something?
I can't remember.
When Dooku was down there at that round table talking to the different
Yeah.
Batmans, whatever.
So I mean, so I think he establishes. So he sows the seeds of a civil war in the Republic in the first one. Suppose he tries to, and then in the second one we see the civil war just kind of break out. So
Right.
at this point you have the separatists and you have the people who are true to the Republic,
Right.
and that's just.
And all the while he had the clone army being made up.
Yeah.
So that he could use them.
I'm gonna tell you, actually, I like so I liked Obi-Wan's subplot. I like the Camino stuff. I like the I like there's a lot of this movie that I actually like. I found the dialogue is just really hard to just do.
And this is actually the best work you're ever going to see out of those clones. Maybe this in the next because the clones was hitting stuff. Now, granted, it was just harmless robots. I mean, they were good. They were actually hitting stuff and fighting with some anticipation and courage and stuff like that. So, good for them. Good for the clones. Now, going into the resolution, because like I say, once you get past the fact that the romance was horrible, the acting was kind of off, and you just got to get down to the fights, basically. So where we had with the fighting, you got the Dooku, Obi-Wan, Anakin fight, and then the Yoda Dooku fight.
So I'm going to say it's so weird because I think casting Christopher Lee is an interesting choice, and I don't want to make it because I like Count Dooku, I like Darth Tyrannus as a character. And I think they explore him a lot more on like the cartoon, the Clone Wars, and so forth. So I like him as a character. I find when you cast this really old man to be the apprentice, he can't do much in terms of the fighting and stuff himself. So a lot of that is you stunt double CGI. I didn't necessarily have a problem with his fight with him beating Anakin and Obi-Wan. It is what it was. I would have preferred they had a better showing in terms of their skill. I still would have gave him the W. I think I would have preferred. In terms of the Yoda Dooku fight, I always felt like I would not have had Yoda brandish his saber in the movie. I still would have had him have that little acrobatic bit. But I agree with Alan 110% in that I just don't. Everybody they pull out them lightsabers a tad bit too quickly, and I think that at this point in time, I would have made it clear you have to be the cream of the crop. If you gonna make Yoda pull out that saber, it has to be something. Because Yoda was, I mean, he was getting this the whole time. The man was, I'm gonna shoot some lightning at you. Yoda catching it. Firstly, he threw it at him. And then, he threw another bit. Yoda made it disappear. And I always felt like, well, at this point in time, I would have just had him blocking that man's swings with his hand. I would, as opposed to him brandishing the saber, I just had him move his hand a little bit like this. Dog, you ain't ready yet. You ain't ready. And that's how. So I felt like I would have gone a slightly different way, but
it
was okay.
One thing that I forgot. Remember we saw about that 4-speed that they were using in the what you call them, Phantom Menace?
Yeah.
Would have came in handy in that arena. You had a lot of Jedi all together.
Just getting gunned down.
I'm saying, and none of them pull out no speed, which would have been very useful in that arena.
Force jumps. I mean, a whole bunch of the Force. I'd have been yanking.
Attacked from everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And a little bit of extra speed. I don't know if that costs you in terms of stamina or what.
Maybe they would have felt bad, but I would actually pull down some of the arena. So I'd have just pulled down some of that, because they were sitting on. They had the high ground. I was just taking it from them. But I don't know. But that's just me.
I would have got creative, and I would have, if I would have been a Jedi down there with all the robotics coming at you, I just would have stomped my foot and pushed the Force out from the feet through the sand, and just wave every, you know, just a whole, just 100-foot wall of like sand. Like it's just like there was sand all around them. Sand is the softest yet hardest thing. Why would you not use that
to come up the robotics? Yeah.
Like sink them in or something. You know what I'm saying? Just like, what are you doing?
Okay, I just thought I'd bring that up.
It's so disappointing. Like the Force usage is the most disappointing part of just Star Wars. Period. At least the movie.
Once with what you establish that they could do is basically telekinetics, telekinesis and low level telepathy of some sort.
Low level for some.
And for the Sith, that plus lightning.
And I'm not even sure it's telekinesis. I mean, telepathy. It might be
the thing with the
empathy. And what's the empathy one? What's that called? You have a character in the second wave universe that they're not telepathic. They're empathic. There you go.
Empathic, yeah.
So they're more empathic to me than telepathic.
Well, I mean, I would equate it to. I mean, I agree with her. I would call it a low level telepathy. Like it's like vampire compulsion.
Ah, yeah, there we go.
Together, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's just hey, whatever. You don't want to do that. You don't want to. And I guess they are empathic too, so they do have some because they get feelings.
Right,
and so
right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, but I'm with you. It has to be in that range.
Yeah.
That telekinesis is nasty, and you have it so that some people are really, really powerful with their telekinesis. Like some people can do a whole bunch of stuff. It boggles the mind. Yeah, man, crush things. Like Windu's supposed to be the nastiest dude running. I didn't see him bust a grape. You know, it was.
They had Mace run and clean sever Django's head, and I would not have had that man move. I would have had him once again. It would have been the first time throw the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like and it showed like Obi-Wan struggled with him. He almost died. Mace just you're not even a thought on my radar, dude. You're not even a
that would have been a good way to establish like his pecking orders.
Not
a little bit.
Not just his power, but his creativity and using the Force, which you hadn't seen up to this point now.
And which still is in line with what you've seen Force users do. It's just a telekinetic type ability, which I agree with you. It also establishes that, Obi-Wan's a little bit of a jerk because he knew that these cats could use lightning and he never told them. Man shot lightning at him, he deflected. Anytime, him or Yoda could have told him, and if you go up against the Emperor, look out, because those guys like to shoot lightning. Ain't nobody say nothing.
I mean, to Yoda's defense, he walked in, somebody shot lightning at. I'm assuming that's his first time getting a lightning blast, and he caught it. So I'm just saying, if Luke was all that, he should have been able to do the same.
Well, I guess that's true. I guess if he was sick for 1,000 years and Yoda's only like, 900 or 800?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Nah, man, that don't mean nothing.
Maybe he was
testing Luke.
You know what?
That's a hard test.
I think I can't remember whether it was in episode 1 or this episode where was it in 3? Where they were talking about the prophecy. I think it might have been in 3. Where Yoda said we may have been wrong. Was that 2?
Yeah, I think that was 3, right?
No,
it might have been 2. Was it while they were on that transport?
The cargo transport.
Going to that might have been 3.
Okay, I won't bring it up there. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Actually, I think that might have been 2. That was 2. You're right. That's 2. Yeah.
Okay, so if there were no Sith and there were only rumors of a Sith Lord, right?
Okay.
What sense does it make that there's going to be a child born of the Force to fulfill the prophecy to bring balance when the dominating force is the Jedi?
For the last 1,000 years, yeah.
For the last 1,000 years. And then even at that, so they got introduced to Darth Maul, which confirmed the rumors to them that there was a Sith Lord somewhere.
Right.
So for at least those, like, prior to these 1,000 years of relative, absence of the Sith, there was just the rule of two.
Right.
So that had been some time where it was just the rule of two. What kind of misinterpretation was this where all the Grand Masters of the Jedi Council, which is like, so their interpretation of balance being brought to the Force was the destruction of the Sith.
Sith, which don't make sense.
Which means that they didn't look at the Sith as being, so they didn't look at the dark side of the Sith as being an equal and equivalent part of the Force, which is kind of confusing to me. Like, you're literally just ignoring anything negative that comes from the Force. Yet you keep, but you know what though? At what point did they know that Dooku had gone to the dark side?
They must have known because Yoda knew that he had fallen away.
Well, they knew he didn't agree with the ways of the Jedi Council. I mean, because firstly, you have to touch on the fact that the Jedi are exceptionally arrogant as a group because their way is the only way. So I mean, I agree with Alan in that's how they're
soup nuts.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's what they are. Like the Sith don't count; they don't matter because the dark side approach is the wrong approach. So our way is the only way. Which I'm not going to say that they deal in absolutes, but
They don't quit. Anyone deals in absolutes.
But and in terms of Dooku though, so it was, and I guess in some ways you get the impression that Qui-Gon would have possibly gone that way too, because I don't necessarily agree with all the rules and the regulations of the council. Because Qui-Gon was essentially, I'm going to train you come hell or high water, Anakin. So I'm gonna do what I got to do. So either they expel me from the order, which is fine, but I'm going to train you in the way of the Force. And they make it clear. Dooku, he was a political idealist. He didn't agree with all the crap that was going on, so he was like, "I'm out." It wasn't necessarily I'm a Sith or I'm a dark side practitioner. I just don't agree with how you're going about things. So they thought at least in the beginning of the movie, they thought Dooku was a reasonable dude, but lo and behold, he was Tyrannus.
Okay. All right, so we pretty much covered everything for the most part. Give me a grade.
I gave it a C+.
Okay.
I thought it was the dialogue was chunky. It was some of the pacing was off. Characterization comes off a little strange, but I think it does what he needs them to do. The movie does what it's supposed to do. So it was. I mean, you can watch it. It's all right.
Yeah.
I give it a C as well. It carried on the story. Like you said, the acting is very stiff all the way around. It's some confusion. It gets a C because I'm not giving it the extra point or two to give. Because of the like Phantom Menace was audacious. I know he was trying too much. This right here is a continuation of that audacity that you've now proven you can't live up to. So I enjoy it. I appreciate what you're doing, but you get a C. You're going down.
Okay.
It's watchable.
Okay, I'm with. I take the plus off from the last one and just give it a C. Because it was like it was passable, like you say, it was passable, but at the same time, I could derive pleasure from it. Just some parts that I didn't, like the romance and all that stuff. But I can't sink the whole thing because of that. Although that's a big part.
It's a huge part.
Because you're establishing the relation between this person who basically was his world, and she ends up being his world, and part of the reason that he falls. And the best you can tell me is, you're like sand, and sand is irritating, but you're soft and all that nonsense. Them lines was weak. It was trash.
Real weak, yo. It was garbage,
Those
man.
lines was trash. And there's no way around that. But the film as a whole was watchable, passable, and there was less Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Less Jar Jar Binks. So I got to give it. And yeah, so that's a C. All right, so that brings us to Revenge of the Sith. Only new character we really got to deal with now is Grievous, right?
Yeah.
So he's the only person that's introduced at this point that we hadn't seen before. So I'm not going to bother with the character. Although the evolution of the characters, I guess, is still important. The evolution of the Obi-Wan Anakin relationship, which is the only one, the only two that really matter is Obi-Wan Anakin and Padme.
Well, I guess we got to get into Anakin Palpatine because that's obviously.
Oh, well, that's true.
That's a game changer relationship.
Palpatine killed it in this joke.
Palpatine,
yeah. He killed it. I mean, in terms of, we get just acting. I mean, he more so than the other two. McDermott killed it, man. He just crushed it. He was the best actor in here by far, because he had the best lines, I guess. The tragedy of Darth Plagueis. You know what I'm saying? He was on that, man. He was on it, man. That was my dude, man. And he was, he was slimy with his, but at the same time, you can see how if he was naive, he would fall right underneath. That was, he was impressive. How
agree
you
with
feeling
that.
his relationship with Anakin? How you feeling that?
So I always found that in some ways it was hard for me to, because I felt like you could put things in boxes, you could things lined up. I wasn't quite sure. Like he was this. It just seemed like he was like this old uncle who would show up every once in a while and say some, and I don't know if the movies were able to properly demonstrate how close I'm led to believe they were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that was problematic for me because, quite frankly, it comes down to, and don't get me wrong, because I feel like a lot of the problem was the Jedi. So let me start off by saying I honestly felt like this movie should be 2 movies. I think that part of the problem is I feel like when you look at the prequel trilogy, it should be episode 2, and then you should have episode 3 cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that should be your trilogy. So I think part of the problem with this movie, and I'll be honest, this is my favorite of the 3. It's too much bunched in there in the time frame that he has. So he messes himself up in that regard. But I'm gonna say that I felt like the relationship that he has with Anakin wasn't properly explored in the films because it's meant to be a lot closer and a lot more meaningful than what I saw happen. Because quite frankly, he has the ability to come in and step on, as far as I know, outside of Padme, Anakin's most meaningful relationship, and that's his relationship with Obi-Wan. So you, at this point in time, you got this straight up, I can't deal with this dude anymore. And for him to be able to do that, it requires a lot because Anakin's a deep feeling cat. Mm-hmm. So the people that mean something to him, the people that matter a great deal. Mm-hmm. And at the point where you're going to have this man turn heel on Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's got to be done right. And I don't know that the relationship was where we needed it to be for it to be executed the way we needed to be executed.
Alan?
I think one of the relationships that we forgot was Anakin and the Jedi Council.
Oh, yes.
True. Get a more deceivious Jedi Council.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that along with Palpatine, that they played a huge part in driving a wedge between himself and Obi-Wan too, because they used Obi-Wan in a malpractice way. They used him to do something that was very un-Jedi-like. So now you have them preaching one thing to someone that, for the most part, like Dave said, is very, very emotional. Mm-hmm. Palpatine got it because remember, he went to Palpatine and told Palpatine about the Sand People, the murder of the Sand People that he did, because he brought it back up again. He was like, remember, like just how you did with the Sand People, remember you told me? So that means that, as far as we know, only Padme and Palpatine know about that incident, which means that he trusts both of them more than he trusts Obi-Wan. And I think only because Obi-Wan he doesn't trust him as much as them two, only because he's Jedi. If he was not Jedi, if he did not follow those strict things, and if the Jedi had not tried to use him to put him on, to get him to do some mischievous things to Palpatine, it would have been a little different. But as you know, throughout the first, the second, and third, and third movie, you can see that deep-seated distrust of Obi-Wan, and that's purely it's purely personality based. If they were in a different environment, I think that it would have played itself out different. But the whole Jedi thing just got into the way of it. So
no, it's weird. You know, they hit that thing they say in writing, show don't tell.
yeah,
They reversed that with the Obi-Wan, with Anakin's relationship with Palpatine and Obi-Wan.
mm-hmm.
They told you that Palpatine was his mentor, and that they had that mentor relationship over the years, and it basically came up in conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas they opened the film with him and Obi-Wan, with Anakin and Obi-Wan on a mission, and went to the point where Obi-Wan was knocked out, and this dude was like, I ain't leaving him behind. Whatever happens to him's gonna happen to me. And literally carrying this man out of there to save his life. To show you that was his dude. Now, I agree with you, Alan, in that he trusts him, but only so far, probably because it's one of them things like if you know that your parents are going to tell you something that's wrong.
Yeah, you don't want to
hear it. Just forget it. I ain't going to tell him.
I don't want to hear
But I love him, but I ain't going to tell him because I'm going to get that automatic L.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I ain't going to tell him about Padme. I knocked her up, although he should know. But I ain't going to tell him about the Sand People because I know he going to turn me into the council or whatever will happen from that. So they kind of flipped it that way. You know what I'm saying? But I agree that I never got the sense that him and Palpatine was, you know, like that. You know what I'm saying? To the point where he told him about the same people, and they had that mentor thing where he's up in the box seats at the opera with him kicking it and him telling about Darth Plagueis and dropping all this Sith knowledge on him and taking it, you know, whatever.
You were just saying though, like, I'm led to believe that Anakin had nobody else to turn to learn anything about the Force, to discuss his feelings or whatnot on the Jedi side, aside from Obi-Wan, which he could only, you know, just feed ever so slightly.
Right.
Because think about it. At the beginning of the movie, the scene that you just spoke to, where he said, you know, his fate will be ours. That was after he told him. So there was two incidents that happened. He told, you know, he egged him on to cut off Dooku's head, a defenseless, unarmed man, and he told him to leave Obi-Wan.
Right.
Those are two things that he never reported on. But then when you go further into the movie, once he got actual confirmation from Palpatine that I'm the Sith Lord that you guys have been looking for, he runs and he tells Mace Windu. He goes back to the council and tells them, this is who it is. You see what I'm saying? So his loyalties were kind of like, his loyalties were in question by the Jedi Council, but then not the entire time. When it mattered, he stood up and did what they expected him to do. So that's kind of like. So Yoda never, like, especially even after the event in Episode 2, where he was in so much pain, you never inquired as to what that pain was.
He had a chance. They had a sit down.
What kind of child abuse is this, dude?
I don't know. Him and Yoda had a sit down.
Just don't care what's going on in your people's lives.
Which was, I mean, him and Yoda had a sit down when they was talking. You know what I'm saying? Which they should have done earlier, but whatever. What did he ask him? He asked him, what were they talking about?
Dreams or something?
Yoda and Anakin were sitting down talking, and
They did have that sit down.
He asked him, basically said, I'm afraid there's something that I'm afraid of losing or whatever. And Yoda basically told him, you got to learn to let go of the things that you attach to, basically.
Yeah, no one. But thanks, Yoda. Wise advice.
But he went to him for that advice, which is interesting. That should have happened earlier. But when it did happen, it seemed like they had a little bit of chemistry. But in the end, they let him down in that respect.
How Dave said, you know what answer you're going to get when you go to your parents. So no matter what he brings to them, you need to detach yourself from your feelings. You need to do, like, you can read that script off. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple script. If you're anything more complex than an amiibo, you probably need to talk to somebody not a Jedi. Just honestly.
He was talking about he went to him about his dreams.
Right. And look what happened. So Yoda calls them people to die. Thank you, Yoda. You cause the sand people to die because you ignore dreams.
Anyway, so I feel like I did respect most of the portrayal of Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship, because Obi-Wan was like backed into a corner where he had to basically, Anakin on one side, the council on the other side, and he was stuck in the middle. And I like that line. What was it? He said, he basically said he was on his side, and he said, but yet you're asking me to do something, that's basically unscrupulous. And he basically was like, what was his exact?
They said the council is
the
asking.
council is asking, yeah. So he basically was like, that's them.
Right,
but he didn't want to put him in that position.
Obi-Wan was on the council at that time, no?
He was,
but he didn't agree with him. But he didn't really stand up for it.
Right.
That's kind of on him too. Yeah.
I mean, my problem with this bit, and I'm being completely honest with you, is, and I understand, if I'm being real, because we are at war. The idea, my problem. So this is 13 years from the episode 1. So this is 13 years, and at this point in time, you are finally suspicious of Palpatine. I'm blown away. Just 13 years. The dude has been in. He's been doing nonsense longer than that. And the council is finally suspicious of this dude. We need to get some intel. At this point in time, you think something ain't right. Something ain't right. But it comes into, you decide to exploit, and it just seems like it's a relationship of convenience to me. In episode 3, Anakin's relationship with Palpatine. So at this point in time, it's a tool. So at this point, we're going to exploit this relationship. We need you to spy on this dude.
Very Sith-like.
Very Sith-like. So they don't deal in absolutes. But again, I need you to go spy on this dude. I need you to get the intel we need. And it don't sit right with Anakin. I don't know why it don't sit right with Anakin, because chopping up the sand people was okay. But somehow or another, it didn't sit right with Anakin. I can't believe you're asking me to do this. But, I don't know, man. Some of this stuff, it just seems, it's really convenient. All of a sudden, Palpatine don't seem right. I'm sorry. It just, that blew me. That's always blown me.
Now, how about the Anakin Padme? Maybe how that progressed.
My problem with it. So I don't necessarily. Okay, so, which is another thing. So Anakin has no problem breaking the rules. He has a secret wife. He done knocked this woman up. Like, real talk, he don't have no problem breaking the rules when it's what he wants. It's okay.
It felt good to break the rules, bro.
Apparently.
Felt real good.
Apparently.
All right, you're right.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you, and I don't know how you want to handle this here conversation, but I'm gonna tell you, my problem comes in when we get to the end of this movie, and I'm trying to tell you that heel turn, it don't flow as well as it should, and I feel like it's too compressed, and that's my problem with it, because I understand where you're trying to go, but it's all, I love you, Padme, I love you, bitch, please, you about to die, and I don't know, I don't know, man. There's something about that just don't.
All right, the secret marriage, maybe her being heavy with child and nobody knowing.
A sitting senator is pregnant and nobody knows it.
People, humans, regular people, can tell when you're pregnant. You know what I'm saying? It's people that. It's women that can look at you and say, oh, you're pregnant. You know what I'm saying? You look a little heavier, maybe, I don't know, you baggy eyes, I don't know. It works. But they just say, oh, you must be, are you all right? How far along are you? Without you saying nothing. these members has got force abilities and they can peer into
They can't sense. They can't
look
sense
into
the
the
light.
future. These members can't see where a pregnant woman's standing right next to them. What's going on? I give you a pass on Palpatine because they say they don't use the force enough to be able to peer into the deeper recesses or whatever, or however that works.
Years, like Dave says, 13 years.
13 years, man. I mean,
You know what? I was talking with someone though, and they said that there's a book entitled Palpatine that actually talks about this period. I guess from his perspective, the episode 2 and 3, or at least 3, and how the dark side of the Force is that much powerful, that much more stronger, because whereas the Jedi, the Force is split amongst a lot of, more people. This one is literally like one master that has the entirety of the Sith himself. So it's 1,000 years of experience, force power, whatever the case is. And that's what he told me. So I wanted to verify. I couldn't find the book before this recording. So
I heard something similar though.
Yeah,
I saw something similar on
just
YouTube.
literally like he's that much stronger.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's an imbalance. Like, so the Sith Lord is essentially Star Wars' Superman.
Basically.
I mean, my problem with, because I've heard that too. So there are less number of practitioners. So but my problem with that is I don't necessarily see it. And we've seen the Sith, and not to say whatever, because Palpatine is a heavy hitter. It's just, it is what it is. He's a powerful Force practitioner. But I don't know, and you can say he got the better of Yoda. I felt like Yoda. I don't want to get into that fight before we get to that fight. But like real talk, like I don't know that I necessarily saw a major difference between Palpatine and Yoda. He seems to me to be a Yoda level practitioner. So I don't know, and that's a big deal. Don't get me wrong, because Yoda's a beast. But I don't know that I've seen. There's just a lot to that's hard for me to believe. So if you're saying, and I know it's off subject, so I'm in the process of rewatching Hunter x Hunter right now, and there's a scene in their whole Tower of Heaven arc, and I don't want to get too deep in it, but essentially, Killua is Hisoka's about to fight somebody. Killua goes to a floor just to get a sneak peek of the cat, and he suppresses his I'm going to call it it's Nen, but I'm going to call it chakra or chi right now, just for the purposes.
He went to his room?
When he goes to that dude's room, and that dude comes out, and the dude says, "You should have suppressed your Nen before you got to this floor, because essentially you did it while you were right up on me." And quite frankly, it draws attention. So everybody here knew you were here because it went from whatever to nothing. And it always seemed weird to me, because in my mind, Palpatine has to be suppressing his power, like dramatically. And it just seems odd to me that you can get a read from everybody else in the Capitol but the Chancellor. Does that not seem suspicious? That for whatever reason, you can get an idea of what's going on. And so I feel like the incompetence of the Jedi is huge to me.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
In the prequel, it's just 13 years is a long time to all of a sudden be. Some don't seem right. It's just a lot to me, and it's a bit in the story I just really dislike.
Yeah.
And the thing that gets me with again going back to Padme, Obi-Wan obviously knew. He knew that she
had to know. He had to know.
And that's telling me that the rest of the council didn't, or just didn't, hand waved it. It was like, well, what's done is done. I'm gonna guess that they did, because they seem more strict. That seemed like more of a Qui-Gon play to let it slide. You know what I'm saying? And they wasn't.
You Qui-Gon would let it slide.
Qui-Gon would have let it slide.
I feel like Qui-Gon would have nipped that in the bud. So I'm gonna tell you, I disagree with that, because I feel like the problem is it was too many people letting stuff slide. Yeah. I honestly think that's the problem with Anakin. Because you are hard pressed to convince me that, like Obi-Wan asked Padme, is Anakin the father? And I'm like, dude, you already know he's the father. You knew who the father was. You know what the deal is, but you ain't say nothing. and this is your fault because you ain't say nothing the whole time. All this stuff is going on, and don't nobody want to open their mouth. Sometimes parents got to be parents. Now I tell you, and this is I don't want to get into where this is a parental lecture, whatever. A lot of problem I have with parents, just period, is sometimes you want to be your child's friend, and you can't be them. That's my best friend. Nah, dog, I ain't your friend. I ain't your buddy. I ain't your homie. I ain't your ace. I'm your father. That's my job. It's what it is. I'm just always gonna be. We can be cool. We can kick it, but we ain't friends. Don't ever think of me as your. Don't come and tell my homie. No, I ain't your homie. I'm your father. I don't want to ever get nobody. I don't want to get. And that's the problem. These people. We want to be friends with this. We want to be friends with this kid. That's the problem with the whole thing, man. You can't be friends with these people.
See, but Qui-Gon struck me as an outsider.
He struck me as an outsider too.
To the council, you know what I'm saying? Now, if he found out after the fact that they had a secret marriage, and at this point she was pregnant, would he have turned them in? I don't know.
Turning them in and saying something to him when stuff is about to pop off for two different.
He might have stepped to him and told him to fess up.
He might have did that, and I can tell you just off his interactions with Obi-Wan in the Phantom Menace, I got the impression that Qui-Gon ain't had no problem with checking people.
Right.
Okay.
You know, I'm the father here. I'm telling you, you know, shut your mouth. You ain't ready. You ready when I tell you you ready. It's just it is what it is. Like Qui-Gon ain't playing them games, and I'm under the impression had Qui-Gon been Anakin's master, this stuff he had to die.
There'd be no Vader.
Oh, there would be no Vader. Yeah, I'm under that impression.
Okay.
Anakin have a mature master to teach him. Once again, probably should have had Mace Windu, or better yet, probably should have been Yoda, honestly.
Yoda, I'm real talk. That's where I would have gone with it. Yoda should have took that man on.
Yeah, it should have been. Just
see, but a lot of this stuff happened while Obi-Wan was a master.
Well, what?
Some of this stuff happened while Obi-Wan was a master.
Well, I'm gonna say this because I'm gonna just say Obi-Wan. My understanding of the Jedi is Obi-Wan doesn't become a master until Anakin becomes a knight.
Right.
So Obi-Wan doesn't become a master until essentially in that 3-year period between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So Obi-Wan's a knight in Attack of the Clones. So once Anakin passes the trials, he's reared a Jedi Padawan to knighthood. So at this point in time, you are a master.
Right. And so you figure he knocks up Padme at least 9 months before Revenge of the Sith.
I'm sure he knew what was going on at the end of Attack of the Clones. Like like if you remember the scene where they're confessing their feelings to each other, they're hanging on the pillar. Obi-Wan is in earshot. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even gotta use the Force, man. Just use your ears. Think about I love you. I gotta admit it. I love you. I gotta whatever. I mean, like, come on, man. It's just nonsense.
All right, it was a clown show, man. So that point was a clown show. All right, so let's get to the meat of this. All right, the disintegration when he basically falls off. I would get into Grievous, but he was a jobber, so you know it was a cute fight. But you know,
if you watch the cartoons, I like Grievous, and I like Obi-Wan, and but that's neither here nor there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought the Grievous fight was tight. It was good for what it was.
Yeah.
But getting to the meat of it, his fall. I mean, we all agree that it was a little swift.
Too swift. It's too swift.
This was Flashpoint.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's swift, a little swift.
I mean,
it was the snap, yo. It was the snap. It was
the Thanos snap.
Yeah, it was real.
Picking up from when basically he finds out that Palpatine is Sidious. Him going back to the council was a necessity, but I'm also of the opinion that I could have saw him also flaking off and going after him right on the spot. Not to say he would have won, but going back to him being a hothead is my thing. And when he finds out that this dude the whole time was lying to him, and I guess that depends on what the Sith actually mean. Does he hate the Sith or does he whatever? But does he hate the fact that this dude, who was a father figure to him, lied to him flat out the whole time? going back to the council was a little too calm-headed for me, but it served a purpose. Now, at the point where you get into the whole thing where where Sidious and Windu are fighting, I would have preferred that Anakin kill Windu, as opposed to make his fall complete. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that he ever loved Windu. As a matter of fact, they foreshadowed that he was going to kill him anyway. But it would have added to his despair if he'd have killed Windu out of desperation to keep Sidious alive. Then that, oh my God, what have I done? Thing would have hit a little harder. Because basically, Sidious killed Windu.
Sidious knocked him out the window. We don't know Windu. We don't know what happened to them.
And at this point,
I mean, it doesn't. But I'm just saying, we ain't seen the body. But okay.
Yeah, but for the purposes of him just dropping a little bit lower,
I agree with that.
I'd have liked it if he was like, no, zoom, and then ran him through. Then Sidious start talking all that nonsense, whatever. He could have said, man, you already down, man. You killed what you call him. Don't start preaching to me. Whatever.
I think that would have worked for me too, because like I have the transition from Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader is just too sudden for me. And I understand because essentially when he says I am Darth Sidious, it's one of those situations where he does feel betrayed, and I get the impression, and I'm maybe like Alan, I'm giving a tad bit too much credence to Lucas, what he was trying to accomplish, but I feel like he didn't know what to do in that situation. Like I feel like he was lost, and at this point in time, I'm lost. I'm going to go tell the council because I don't know what to do here. Mm-hmm. So I felt he was torn. So I didn't have a problem with him not brandishing his saber and going to work. I felt like I don't know what's supposed to happen, and then. I do like that, Mace being wise, dude, I need you to stay here. I got you. You've earned my trust. We're good now. I mean, you were a Joker for the last 13 years. But at this point in time, I got you, Skywalker. You my dude. Stay here, though. We're going to take care of this business. And then, that man sitting there in that chair, which I like. I like the whole idea that he's sitting there thinking about this. He's like, nah, I ain't sitting this one out. Let me go ahead and see about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I like some of that. I'm with you in that, if he's gonna do a heel turn, you gotta do a heel turn. Mm-hmm. Shawn Michaels didn't slap, Marty Jannetty in the face. He kicked him through it wasn't one of them situations where, we didn't hit around with it. You going through the window in the barbershop. It's just, it is what it is. So I don't know. I'm with you. That heel turn needs to.
I mean, you shaking your head, Alan. You disagree?
No.
Oh, okay.
I completely agree. I do think that Mace's decision, I have to disagree with you on this one, Dave. I think Mace's decision to have him stay was part of the downfall. Because the thing is, first off, it was offensive. I would have been offended if I were Anakin. That now that I've betrayed the person that I'm actually closest to here, you feel like you can trust me. Are you serious? So for 13 years, you didn't trust me? For what reason? I've been out here fighting all these battles and stuff, and you don't trust me? Are you serious? Are you kidding me right now? This is what we got? So I would have been offended about that. And the fact that you won't, like, I brought this to you. I could have let this slide. I could have hit it. Didn't have to say anything. Like, things are going to change after right now, and you want me to sit down while you go and bring whatever form of justice that you think that you deem necessary? I don't trust you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think their arrogance didn't allow them to realize that other people can have impressions of them that don't fit with the way that they see themselves. So Anakin didn't trust them, and he has something. Palpatine, he has something that Anakin actually wants. What does the council have that Anakin wants? Mm-hmm. You already know the answer. Death is a part of life. You know what I'm saying? Let it go. Detachment, whatever. So their answer would be, okay, after find out he has kids and he's very afraid to lose Padme with the same dreams he was having to lose his mom, is to let them go. That's your attachment. And then you, on the other hand, you have somebody that's saying, I can help you keep her alive, or we can bring her back, or whatever the case is. And then when you turn on that person, when they go there, and then when you get there, it's the whole thing like, no, he has to die. And Anakin's like, no, he need to live. Like, I need him. And he's like, no, he's too dangerous to let live. He's like, whoa. You ain't say nothing about killing nobody. You said you were gonna go here to arrest him. And then Palpatine's like, no, they're trying to take over. They're trying to take over the Republic and everything. Mace, see, that's saying, no, we not. See, the thing was, Mace wasn't denying what Palpatine was saying, and I know that was, Mace is like, you need to die because you're a Sith Lord. So it is what it is. Like he became very absolutist in his thinking right then. He was like,
what do you mean? They don't deal in absolutes.
Absolute then. He was like, yo, you need to die. And I guess I can't blame him for that either, because Palpatine did kind of like run through the other four.
So that's my question though too. I'm with you in that I do think I agree. Anakin should have been upset, offended, because I agree that the whole bit where he says, I didn't trust you before. Like, I don't know what would you. I'm with you. However, I don't have a problem with Mace telling that man, you got to sit down, because it seems it would have been illogical, and I'm sure Anakin could have again been offended. My question, you got like real talk. At this point, Mace is going there. We're going to arrest him. Are you under the? I'm not under the impression that I take it arrest means we chopping that man's head off. So I'm under the, like. Do you feel like that's something that changed on the fly, or do you feel like he went in there with the purpose of dispensing his form of justice?
You talking about Mace or Anakin?
Excuse me, Mace.
I think Mace went there. I think he went there to make an arrest, but realizing at the same time that he was going to kill him. That's why he went. That's why he went there with the squad.
Yeah.
And just what happened that when the squad got taken down, he was like, "Yeah, you got to go."
And then like, because I felt like I've always felt like there was some validity to what Palpatine was saying to Anakin. Like, essentially, they're gonna kill me, and then they're gonna take over, which is true. Because in my mind, at this point, we're gonna take over. We have to take over.
Yeah, they were gonna.
We got to kill the chancellor, and then we got to sit there and tell a new chancellor. So they are gonna do these things. This is the truth. So like, but I don't know. What you think, Jose? I always felt too that.
Did they walk in the door with a death order?
Yeah, man.
I think it was one of those things where, we're. He said, "All right, boys, let's go bring him in. But if he twitch, put him down." You know what I'm saying? Because if he do anything out of the way, if he draw a sword, kill him. You know what I mean?
But he was gonna draw a sword. It's not like you can't pretend like ain't nobody coming in. Like, he ain't gonna let go of power just for the sake of letting go of power.
But think about it. They could have got there and he could have denied it. He could have denied it and not drawn a sword and literally tried to, you see what I'm saying? Like he could have, like, that could have been. I don't know why he would have done it. Maybe been something to make Anakin go crazy, make it seem like that he was. Trying to do without, like, he misheard me. Right, he misheard me, or I was telling him a parable or something like that. I have. Or Anakin's been going crazy. Did you know that Anakin killed these samples? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like he could have played that differently. So that's why I said, like, I don't.
But look at it this way. So
they was gonna kill him.
This being the case. Did Anakin agree with Order 66? He didn't know about it, but in principle, did he think that would have been the way to go?
I'm not answering any questions after he makes the turn. After Windu is out the window. Windu. I'm not answering questions pertaining to Anakin because it doesn't make any sense. There's no Roger. You see what I'm saying?
That's where my problems begin. Because
after Windu is windowed.
If you just run it the way it played out, Palpatine zaps him out the window, right?
Yeah.
He still has to make the decision as to whether
the end of the movie, Jose.
This
What are we
dude, huh?
It's the end of the movie. What are we talking about?
You know what I'm saying? But Anakin has, because they made his decision to side with dude too easy, because there is a moral dilemma as to whether a coup d'etat needs to take place. You know what I'm saying? Just because Windu said so much that they were going to have to basically get rid of dude and take over and hold power until whatever can be resolved. And from my standpoint, Windu was basically,
we can call it window.
He was speaking the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because once you got rid of Palpatine, somebody was going to have to hold it down until they made some kind of election. Now, I don't think it was out of greed that he was saying it. Now, finally, it's our chance to take over. It was just whatever. You know what I'm saying? Now, does Anakin believe that when man calls for Order 66, when he says that, he doesn't see the results until maybe he sees I don't know if he ever saw the results.
I'm under the impression, Jose, I'm be perfectly honest with you. So, like I said, the heel turn is too rapid. So Anakin's gone when he goes in and he kills the younglings. It's a wrap. So at this point in time, the fact that Palpatine is able to say, "Look, man, we getting rid of all the Jedi." All the Jedi? Are you sure, Chancellor? Yeah, all the Jedi. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and orchestrate Order 66. I need you to go ahead and hit up the temple, take out them younglings. Take out the younglings? Take out the younglings.
Did he hypnotize the man or what?
I mean, he made that man's eyes yellow. I don't know what happened, but somehow or another his eyes were yellow, and he went on there and he executed the younglings.
See, I see Palpatine having to have a hard discussion with Anakin to take out Obi-Wan. You know what I'm saying? Let alone kill younglings. He would have had to say, look, yeah, I know he's your master. I know he go back or whatever. But the dude got to go. And they go into it, chop it up a little bit.
Wasn't no discussion.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't even have to. I mean, he killed the younglings and then was going to kill Obi-Wan.
Taking out the
what happened?
It was like the biscuit on a 6-piece chicken meal. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say nothing about Obi-Wan. It was just, all the Jedi got to go. I need you to go to the temple. Handle your business. You see what I'm saying?
To me, it just happened too fast. Because first of all, it's a large leap from cutting off Windu's arm to killing innocent unarmed.
Yeah.
I can't even see that.
I mean, that's just a lot. It's just a lot.
And not to mention something we talk about, Alan. Them kids was a resource.
Yeah,
Palpatine's not an idiot. He should have took them and said, "All right, get the kids, bring them back here, and we'll
raise them up in the Sith way."
Those could have been Palpatine's
the Red Guard, yeah.
Yeah, the royal guard.
Use Force users, and
And at that point in time, maybe he wouldn't have been thrown, Gorilla Plus slam down that little chute if he raised the shoulder.
If nothing else, because that the stormtroopers ain't gonna mount to too much.
Nah, man.
So you need henchmen that can get something done. They ain't gotta be Vader, you know what I'm saying? Let Anakin be Anakin, but these is gonna be his Knights of Ren, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? These will be the Knights of Anakin. You know what I'm saying? And y'all, you the captain of this guard, and when I want something done, y'all go out and do it. But he said kill the younglings. Okay. And then this fool goes ahead and does it anyway, just to bring sense. It don't make sense.
No.
He wasn't even, I ain't gonna say he didn't want to kill Obi-Wan, but he didn't immediately go in on Obi-Wan. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. That whole conversation was nonsensical to me too.
Like that,
yeah, man. It
was for drama. He was building drama.
She's against me too. Anakin, you don't see how low you've fallen. What? Come on, dude.
But that was the black spot in the movie that was kind of like hard to fit in there. His dissension after he kills them younglings. When you get to the fight itself, the fight had to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, the fight had to happen. And I liked the fight. It was great. It was fun.
It was good. Choreography.
I wish it was a little bit, and it's weird to say, I wish it was a little bit more visceral. There's a bit in it where they knock their sabers out. I really, they doing little fancy kicks and stuff. I really wish they would have just punched it. It's scenes in movies that I always just like. This should be a lot more visceral than what it is. Like Batman should be wrecking. Like it's off subject again, and I apologize.
No, fair.
Like
fair,
that little last fight in Harry Potter where Voldemort and Harry are apparating through the air and whatever, and they just grabbing each other's faces. I always just wonder why they ain't fighting. I just always check it out. It's a decent movie, and I was just like, why are they just busting each other up?
Yeah.
I really every time I watch that fight, I just always wonder why Anakin and Obi-Wan aren't beating the crap out of each other. Like at this point in time, we need to just do this. Like
when I was hoping that they would have did. Remember the ending of the Naruto Sasuke fight?
Yeah.
They were so tired. They were just like, not tired. I didn't want them to be tired, but I thought that if they would have both exhausted their force energies, they would have lost their sabers, and when they weren't able to reach them at the moment, and they just went at it. Slugfest. Because I think that once again, Lucas missed a point where he wanted the fight to be very personal. And so he tried to make it personal by having them be enraged and rushing at each other. And, that was actually probably the hardest I've ever seen people swing lightsabers at each other. So there was rage, there was passion behind it. And for them, and then he tried to show them being personal by having them mimic each other's moves, which I didn't like. I hate when people do that in like fights, period. Like you can train somebody and they not be an exact mirror image of you. And the fact that Anakin was supposed to, especially at that time, be better than Obi-Wan in swordplay. He's supposed to be one of the, he's the only one better is Yoda. And you're going literally toe-to-toe, mirroring his moves exactly almost. That didn't make sense. But to actually get down nitty-gritty, meant it wasn't about the Force. It wasn't about being a Jedi. It wasn't about none of this politics stuff. This was something that was deep-seated, buried, took over 3 movies to get to, which ended in Obi-Wan losing a friend and a Padawan, a faux pas son, some may say, and Anakin just losing everything. Everything. So I thought that was a missed opportunity. That should have been a fight that was hard to watch.
Yeah.
That would have literally been Star Wars fans growing up.
It should have been a little bit more, I would agree, visceral, slightly more heartbreaking. And again, we got to come to the infamous high ground. I thought it was a little cop out, a little bit, because the high ground. It's the same situation he was in with Maul, and he killed Maul. So.
He killed Maul. Like real talk, the high ground don't matter until all of a sudden, I would, like I didn't necessarily have a problem with them mirroring each other's moves because I feel like some of that is, and you don't want to read too much into a fight, but it is meant to be visceral. It's meant to be whatever. So I felt like a lot of that was muscle memory. This is just what I know. So somehow we just swinging, and this is what it is. So they just, it is what it is. I felt like he missed an opportunity when it wasn't as visceral as it was. I really would have just had Obi-Wan straight up beat him. Wouldn't have been no high ground, just whatever. It just, it's just you a cocky dude, like real. It just is what it is. Today ain't your day.
Yeah.
You don't.
I agree with you. I mean, that was literally a knight versus a master.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan wasn't Qui-Gon age, however old he was. Like, I agree with you, and that would have fueled Vader moving forward. That he got beat.
Yeah.
You legitimately got sat down. So.
I mean, look, like you say, knight versus master. Dude might have went too far up in his feelings and forgot his technique.
Yeah.
And Shorty just got to him. Just got both legs.
It'd be a loss of a technique, dude. I would have because the way he found Anakin was very Scythian. He used Padme. And her affection and feelings for Anakin. Stowed it away on her ship, found him, pushed his feelings.
Yeah.
And
Well, I don't know. Anakin came off that joint. It was a little weird to me. Like I'm gonna tell you that thing right there never sat well with me. The whole bit
Choking out Padme.
choking out Padme.
Yeah, that, yeah.
Because I see him. He must be here with you. Nah, dog. Like all of so now she now she cheating on you. Like I like it. Just what's happening?
I don't know. Is that what he thought he was?
I don't know. And if that was a storyline he wanted to push, I would have pushed that a little bit. Maybe the reason she wasn't as quick to be attracted to Anakin was he had like I would have been okay with that. In all honesty, like it was just the three of them, and there was this undercurrent of like maybe that would have worked a little bit better for me. But it was just nonsense, man. I'm gonna choke out my pregnant wife.
The one who I was having nightmares about dying. I'm gonna choke her out.
Just killed.
Let me kill her. Let me kill her. Like I just nah. Man.
If you say that he's that impetuous or that rage driven, maybe I don't know. I didn't.
There was no evidence. There was no evidence up to that point that he would have ever laid a hand or force on Padme. He's doing the reason he's
he killed children.
Padme
he killed children in the second one
because of his Padme, because of his
not
the children. I mean, he did that for his mom because they raped his mom and abused her.
He just killed them young men too.
Right, so he has a disregard of life if you are on the wrong side of him.
Okay, yes.
So he became vengeance.
But he did say that you're with them. So.
But that's what I said. It didn't make any sense the way that he went.
Because, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Remember also in that conversation, what drove her off, or what was driving her off, or driving the wedge between them before Obi-Wan stepped out, was the fact that he was mixing motivations. He's talking about, me and you, we can take the Emperor or the Chancellor, and we can rule the galaxy. Like he's already in like full Vader mode, with Luke. You know what I'm saying? Just like
right.
Like dude, like you haven't talked about any of these aspirations to run. Like now you want to rule the galaxy.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
And to be honest with you, he always struck me more as a henchman anyway. He was never a brain. You know what I'm saying? He was never a dude that was going to lead anybody.
I agree with you.
So he had no business.
Padme would have been the Empress.
And he would have been
the muscle. I got you.
Yeah, because he was never going to lead nobody nowhere.
Well, the cool thing with Anakin is that because of his emotions, his ambitions really aren't that grand. If you think about it, they really are. He wanted to protect his mom. He wanted to protect Padme, and when he found out that she was pregnant, he wanted to protect his kid. He wanted a family. He wanted to be a humble guy. That's what he wanted.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the fastest way to not protect your kid is to kill the woman that's carrying your baby.
Slaughtering them would be a problem for your legacy,
Hey, what did Obama say? It's only cheating if you get caught.
Yeah.
My man should have deleted those holograms.
I mean, and that's another thing that always struck me.
What did he do? Yo, what?
Here's another thing that kind of struck me, and we can get into the Yoda fight too. But when Yoda shows Obi-Wan them holograms, and he shows him killing them kids, I didn't buy Obi-Wan's reaction. At that point, he should have. All right, I got it. I'll take care of it. Because
I don't know, Jose. Like that's a complicated thing. Like I mean, in all honesty, the fact is,
the cat that you taught and raised went and killed children, and you're not going to take care of them. That's
no. I mean, I'm just essentially, and I don't know. I watch a lot of these true crime things. It's my get off. It is what it is. But I never hear parents the way that's your child. It is what it is. He don't stop being whatever. I hate what he's done. I hate whatever. I hate what he's become. But quite frankly, he needs to be put down. And I don't know. I love Anakin. Obi-Wan, he never stopped loving Anakin Skywalker. He loved Anakin Skywalker. It is what. If you want to say that's his fatal flaw, he himself was guilty of attachment because he was attached to this dude. Right. It is what it is. He loved that dude. It's just he killed younglings. I'm disgusted. I'm whatever. But I gotta kill him. Nah, that's a tad bit too much. I never had a problem with that one.
Look, I'd at least wanted to confront him. Because look, this community,
This ain't
The
confrontation
Jedi.
time, dude. This is killing time. But I got
They,
you.
like I said, I don't want them to kill him, to be honest with you, because I look at it this way. The Jedi community is like whatever, some type of family unit. So you got the high up dudes are the fathers and the grandfathers, and the little dudes on the bottom was the grandkids. So you telling me my kid killed my grandkids and I'm not going to take care of him?
Wait a minute. So well, see, I don't know, because I'm with you. It is a community, is whatever. He killed some younglings. Anakin was his dude. Like that was his ace. That was his brother. That was his son. That was everything wrapped up in this one individual. And you say, I don't know that I have him saying I'm going to kill him. Like I don't know that I'm.
Dave, let's deep dive this. All right. He turns on the holocron, right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
You hear the little kid say, Master Anakin, what are we going to do? He lets into him. They start screaming for mercy. Please don't do this. Screaming for their lives. And you're just going to be like, oh, well.
No. I'm saying, so I got the impression that Obi-Wan is saying he needs to be dealt with. He's saying, I'm not the one to deal with him. So that's essentially what he said. He got to go down. I got you. I'm with you. He has to be stopped at this point in time. Master Yoda, you need to be the one.
Right,
if not you, who?
Yoda. He said, Yoda, you go take care of that. I'll go talk to Palpatine. You go talk to Anakin.
Palpatine coming for blood. Yeah.
Well, that's what. Well, at this point in time, Yoda was the calmer head, and he said, "No. You got this one confused, dog.
Well,
I'm gonna take the big dog. You take the puppy." At this point in time, that's how we're gonna handle this one. But I was with Anakin. I was with Obi-Wan.
Take the dude out. I'd have felt obliged because that, as far as I'm concerned, I spent the most time with that dude. I practically raised him.
Well, Jose, you cold-blooded. Everybody knows that you cold-blooded. You ain't got no heart.
I raised my son to kill children, man. I can't look at it that way.
So you're going to teach him the error of his ways by killing him? Jose,
look, man. If you don't put his sword down, he going to die. That's what I'm saying. I tell him, I say, Anakin, don't ignite your lightsaber. Because if you do, I'm going to kill you. Come along peacefully and I just throw you in the clay. So you go to a life sentence.
That's the thing too. Remember, so that's saying, so now you saying that you can be Anakin if you were Obi-Wan. That's questionable, right?
Maybe. I'm not saying that he was so far off that he couldn't.
Well, see, that's what I'm gonna say too. So at this point in time, and not to say I believe he was quite as powerful. Obi-Wan is a heavy hitter. I'm gonna tell you the break. His body count in all of Star Wars is unmatched. It's unparalleled. The dude he got more big names than anybody. But I'm gonna say, I don't know that I felt like he was quite as powerful as Windu. I don't know that I thought he was quite as wise as Yoda. But I felt like the dude had some go. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if he felt like he might have been more powerful. I don't know that he thought he was more skilled. So I'm under the impression that could have gone either way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this ain't Kakashi and Itachi. You know what I'm saying? I think it was more like, I'm trying to think what a pause. There's a gap. There's a gap, but I don't think it's between experience and skill. I don't think it's a gap that couldn't be closed. I mean, clearly, he all but killed the man anyway. Although under weird circumstances, the high ground, whatever. I just had him beat that dude down on some straight, skill or cunning or something like that, which would have made more sense to me. But like I said, I mean, nobody's feeling the high ground, right?
No. I would have actually had Obi-Wan beat him by, I don't know, with Sith tactic maybe. It would have been un-Jedi like. I mean, it was un-Jedi like the way that he did kind of just like abandon him there. So all that talk about his feelings, he had no problem leaving that man right there to suffer.
That was a tad bit too much for me too. That was a tad bit too much for me.
There was no mercy in what he did.
Yeah, he should have pushed that man in the lava.
That was for the kids. That was for the kids.
No, Jose,
that was for the kids.
Jose, you are the most brutal cat. Like, I don't understand it. Like, that's your dude. Like, push him in the lava. Push him in the lava. Put the saber through that man's head.
Personally, I would just put it in his heart.
Jose, and he's still yelling at him.
No, I put
it won. We were like, he was like my brother. I mean, he got that dude. Anakin ended up like spitting. Yes, he had spittle come out of his mouth. He was like, I hate cut off all body parts except for the robotic arm.
Yeah.
What BS is that?
I say, yo, Anakin, we was tight, but now let this be a lesson to you. I'm gonna leave you first.
That man's clothes was set on fire, yo.
That man locked away.
He walked away, yo. That man, he set ablaze. I just said, I say, yo. He said, I hate you. I said, well, let that be the last thing to come out your mouth. And walk on.
Dude. No, was that Jedi like to you, Jose?
I was past that. Jedi was dead anyway.
That was Loeri like. That's different. There's the Jedi, there's the Sith, and then there's the Loeri. And that was the Loeri style. Leave them. That's for the kids.
That's for the kids.
Take your medicine.
Burn. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. Now one of the last things I'm gonna get to is Obi-Wan and Yoda's plot after the fact. The Jedi being wiped out as far as they know.
With Palpatine.
Huh?
You jumping past Yoda's fight with Palpatine.
Oh yeah. What is it, man? Actually, I think it was closer than, it was probably closer than I thought it would be.
I thought it was real close. I ain't have a problem with it except when that man Yoda decided he was a coward.
Dave, you had to realize he had the high ground.
I'm just like, no, man. The dude, they both hanging on for dear life, and that man is just they both took nasty falls. I don't understand. Call your saber and go back to work, man. Throw another chair at him. That's
the funniest part when they got the camera right on Yoda.
That was embarrassing. He like Freddie was after him, you know what I'm saying? It was horrible, man. It was horrible, man. He was running for his life, man.
That was fear for his life.
I ain't see how it got to that point.
They had a very even fight.
It was an even fight, yo. They were doing it big. Like these Bama's throwing chairs. It was great. And then all of a sudden, Yoda's like, I can't make it, dog.
Remember the movie with Eddie Murphy and Martin Law's Life?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. That's what it reminded me of.
It was pretty pathetic, man. It was. Hey, if I'd have went to Dagobah too, man.
Why would he do that? Why would he turn the most powerful Jedi? Why would that be your last impression of him? Like, why would you do that?
I don't know, man. That was weird to me.
Hey, look,
I never even got the impression that Obi-Wan necessarily wanted to seclude himself.
Yeah.
It was his directive. But then if he would have known he was getting the directive from a coward.
See, at that point, I would have had.
He's just trying to hide.
Your man, I would have liked Palpatine to have one in the chamber. Like he needed to have something. I would have had somehow or another. I would have had it so Yoda was getting jumped at the end. Something would have had to make that work for me.
Call them red dudes back in.
Yeah, man. Like they would have showed up out of nowhere, and Yoda been like, "Oh no, I can't take on this dude and these two red dudes or whatever." Something. It wasn't working out for me.
I keep going back to Naruto, but basically when Pain was fighting Kakashi, and then he called in backup. You know what I'm saying? And then you had, all right, so I'm at a little disadvantage now. Whatever. So you got to come up with a backup
for jumping people.
Huh?
Pain was vicious for jumping people.
Oh yeah. That was his whole deal.
That was his secret.
But that would have been a good angle to take. Have them, they're at a stalemate and do be like, because that's a Sith type deal.
Yeah.
Nah, dog. Man. Let's
no. I mean, he would have hit the button or something on his way down.
Henchmen come from everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it would have been.
And then I would have
had Yoda like, oh no.
which would have made a little bit. At least that it gave him a little bit of respect.
Yeah, man. I didn't like the way that I didn't like the culmination of that fight. Like it didn't make sense to me. Like I liked it. I like how Yoda came into that room. He
Okay, man,
I like the whole thing. How he slammed them Bama's against the wall. How I like how Palpatine got that first hit off of him.
Right.
Boom. And then he stood up. Yoda was like, they was like, yo, we gonna do this. I liked it. It was like two masters.
What he say? If so powerful you are, why you know? Then they went to work. That was hot. That was hot.
Actually, could have been good if they would have did. I just thought about it. Wow. Remember, he said that one last lesson he needs to teach Obi-Wan. Your old master Qui-Gon, has shown something with the Force, right?
Yeah.
Could have had Qui-Gon come in the middle. So if you had Yoda being jumped on or just losing the fight, or it looks like he's going that way, then you have Qui-Gon come to him and be like, you need to leave. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that
duty, like your duty lays elsewhere. This
would have been good.
This is bigger than the moment. And it would have like more of a Zen way to kind of do it instead of having run.
I would have liked that too, actually.
That would have been hot.
Then he imparted to there. So then it really does set up for the whole Luke and Leia thing, because it is like you can't live in the moment. You have to like let all of this happen. Like you've played your role.
Right.
And so that would have been kind of, but yeah, you can't give that much credit to Lucas.
And that which brings me to the last point. Why did they not train Luke and Leia together?
I don't know. That's a bit of a blow. Well, I understand the whole air and the spare thing, because the thing that blows me, and it's an absolute. I can't use the word I want to use, but it's the weirdest thing to me that essentially that man is living on Tatooine. His name is Luke Skywalker. Like I just ain't never seen nobody hiding in plain sight before. Like it's just the craziest thing to me that there's a Skywalker in the universe and nobody finds that suspicious. You telling me nobody goes to Tatooine ever? You don't have to interact with. Nah, man, it don't make any sense to me at all.
Even if you were to say he was never going to come back there, suppose Luke rose to some level of fame, and that name got out. There's this moisture farmer on Tatooine. He's a beast. You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, yeah, what are you saying?
What's his name? What do you call him? Because we're going to recruit him as a pilot in the Empire. No.
And is he back on him? What you going to do? You know what I'm saying? So, look, and even if you was going to go and say Obi-Wan or Yoda trained Luke, then you're going to have to train Leia too, as from infancy up.
At some point. See, yeah.
Because if you're saying that you use one and you got a backup, but if that backup ain't trained, what you going to do?
Nothing, because she
had nothing. She had nothing.
As a Jedi, she wasn't worth much. That's a problem for me.
I mean, because in Return of the Jedi, when he said, you got the same powers that I have, and I'll teach you to learn, teach you to use them. If he don't come back from that Death Star,
ain't nobody to teach him. Unless you're saying Force Ghosts can teach people.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. But man, I'm with you.
Yeah. They should have trained them both up from the get-go, but then you don't get the story. So
yeah, you don't get the story. I'm with you.
If you find a more credible way to separate them, maybe. But to sit there on the planet with this dude for 18 years or whatever, and just let him be a moisture farmer while Vader's off killing half the galaxy. I don't know. I don't know. That didn't make no sense.
Obi go off and become a old drunk then. And fell in love with the booze a little too much.
The dude was like, what at the time he was like 50 something.
Yeah,
he fell off. Man. He fell off.
He fell off
all the way off. I mean, he could barely move, and he was like, at least Vader's excuse, he was in a suit. This man was just done. I mean, Dooku was kind of spry for his age. I mean, technically.
Technically, at 50-something, he should have been closer to how Qui-Gon looked.
Okay.
Not this 80-some-year-old Obi-Wan.
And dude at the time was in his early 60s, though. Apparently.
Oh, Alec Guinness?
Yeah, Guinness. When he was old. Yeah. Old.
But that's how older people look back then.
Back then, yeah. Right. Nowadays, he probably looked a little more spry.
I did see that video that rehash fight.
Oh, you saw that?
Vader and Obi-Wan.
That would have been sick, man.
I like when he threw the blade at him. He threw the blade when the things were closing.
Yeah.
And then he stuck in. He was like,
He was
over. He had to go down and duck so it could go over. I was like, oh, this is nice.
Is this some way they could splice that into the flick? That'd be awesome. That'd be a decent way to go out. You know what I mean?
I don't know why they don't do stuff like that anyway. Just, I told you, I would have somebody that, like how Dave said, Yoda shouldn't be using the sword unless he goes up against someone like Palpatine. However, somebody a little bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like I use the foot. I just crack your leg. It wouldn't be no fights.
Yeah, cripple you.
Like, I have people afraid of me.
Yeah.
I don't need to put my sword out on you. It has nothing to do with my experience. I'm just nasty. It's like somebody kicking you in the balls in the middle of a fight.
That's what I would do.
Exactly. Just kick you in the balls. That's
the expediter. Yeah.
There's the fight going after that.
You would. I'll double kick you if I got to. Yeah.
I mean,
when you fall, that's all he's doing. Pow, pow, pow. And that's what. Like, you never have a dirty Jedi user.
Well, they can be.
Right. Just sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg, Johnny.
Hey, hold on. What was the dude that Bolo played in Bloodsport? Remember he took the powder out? It was like,
oh yeah. That's old school Bloodsport, man. Shark Claw, right
like,
there.
are you not snapping necks or nothing in this thing? Like, come on, man. Just.
I ain't talking about that in a minute.
Use the force to crush the hand, like while they're holding the blade.
Yo, I'm trying to tell you, man. I don't understand. I would trip people up when they're doing their little moves. I would straight up push the blade back so that it hits you in the arm or something, man. A whole bunch of stuff.
It's war, man. You know.
Yo.
You ain't pick them jokers up for fun, you know.
You'd have Jedi and Sith trying to hunt you down.
Yeah.
That's the darkest dark side.
All right, let's get the grade out on this. What's your grade on Revenge of the Sith?
Who are you talking to?
Alan, you go ahead.
F.
F. Wow.
F.
Jeez.
Wow. Wow.
I told you, after Windu went out the window,
It was down here for you.
the end of it destroyed me. Like, up until then, I was with you. It was a continuation of the first two movies. That complete turn, that destroyed everything. Like, that's not the Anakin I just done spent, 2 movies, 5.5 hours getting used to. You messed it up for me. You get an F. You failed.
Dave?
I gave it a C+.
Okay. I raised it up to B. For all of the inconsistencies and some of the weird stuff. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that the most out of any of the.
I agree. I enjoyed it the most too.
Yeah, it was
very gracious.
Oh wow! Okay. Now the big thing is, what's your grade for the saga, the prequel saga, all 3 combined?
My grades average out to a C-.
Alan? I can't remember what I gave to the original. Dang, I should have wrote that down.
You said a C+.
Oh, you did? Good. Okay.
No, you said a C+ for the original. 1.
You talking about the 4, 5, and 6?
Oh, I'm sorry, 4, 5, and 6. Oh, I thought you said.
I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been. I had to go back and look.
I think it was a B that you said. I know mine was a B.
Okay.
Because episode 6 brought it down a lot. Just like this one. I mean, I think it pretty much averages out to like a D because, I gave it a B, a C, and then an F. F's hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a low score. Yeah.
He didn't close strong at all. I mean, what's the point? I mean, you look at a WWE match. You going through like Undertaker. Let's say Undertaker and I don't know, Randy Orton. Mm-hmm. Them last 5 minutes are just garbage. Like you just wasted 20 minutes of your life.
That's true.
To see this end sloppily, and
I took it as they closed stronger. Strong. I say they closed strong. Because CCB, what's that average out to? What, a C+, I guess?
You did BCB.
BCB?
Yeah, BCB.
Okay, then that's still a B minus, maybe, or something like that.
Roughly.
On
Yeah,
the overall.
yeah.
Now I'm hoping that was lower than the original side.
No, I'm sorry. That's a C plus. I apologize.
Okay, that's fair. So that's got to be lower than the original saga,
Yeah.
which I'm assuming I probably gave like a B or something to that effect. Yeah, I mean, this is the last high point, that's for sure, because it ain't no
Oh, it's
secret
a
high.
wrap.
Anyway.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah, but one thing I will have to say is that the major reason that I give the prequels points is that they were consistent in the story that they were telling, which is going to be a major negative to the sequels. You could tell one dude wrote at times where the saga might have struggled, it was one complete thought.
Mm-hmm.
So I give them points for that. You should have to give people points for that, but you do what you got.
I mean, but you realize you have to after you watch the sequel trilogy.
The sequels.
You realize that
It's a
for
curve.
all his missteps and all the ball dropping, that at least these movies line up with 4, 5, and 6.
Yes.
And there is a large gap between 3 and 4, and you still see these movies line up, and it becomes something completely different when you introduce the sequel trilogy into the mix. It's a strange phenomena that occurs there when you add these other movies in. So I can't wait till we do our sequel our sequel trilogy post-mortem, because I can tell you off the break, it's not going to be pretty.
No, it's not. Okay, so on that note, that concludes our post-mortem on the prequels. Next up will be the sequels, and we'll take it from there. Thank you for watching. Like, disagree, comment, whatever you want to do on that. And we'll catch you next time. Stay loose.